Plans for Widener Field were unveiled in July of 2018, and the Colorado Springs Switchbacks organization had been longing for a home playoff game ever since. And more than 4 years later, the moment finally arrived last week, and a resounding victory earned the Switchbacks yet another home game as they host the Sacramento Republic here in the Western Conference semifinal. Alongside USL veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. Delighted to have you along this evening for a broadcast presented by Widener here in the USL playoffs, presented by Hisense. Half the Western Conference final is already set. Will it be Colorado Springs or Sacramento joining San Antonio next week? These two teams, Ricky, had similar but different meetings earlier in the season.
And they're very different games. Yes, the home team wins in convincing fashion, but you look at this game here tonight, I'm expecting completely different. You look at Sacramento Republic, what they've done with Mark Briggs' USL Open Cup, the form that they're coming into, how they took down New Mexico. On the other hand, you have Colorado Springs. You lose a reigning MVP in Haji Berry. What was that going to look like? It was always going to be a question mark around Colorado Springs. You talked to Brendan Burke. He said, look, last time out, it was a complete performance, so they're going to be full of confidence, Colorado.
And they have to be full of confidence at home. A stark contrast at home versus on the road for the Switchbacks this year.
And we had a chance to talk with him. He said, look, we needed a home playoff game because we know how good that we've been. Look, you had the quarterfinals in this Western Conference. Now you have the conference semifinals. So what is it going to look like?
Now, there's plenty of players you can pick as the player to watch on this Switchbacks team. You don't make it this far without that being the case, but let's not overthink this one. Tonight's player to watch, brought to you by Modelo, is Michi Galina.
And Young Player of the Year, question mark. There hasn't been one, many 22-year-olds to say, look, I've been a professional for 4 years, but to be effective and how different he can be for this Colorado Springs Switchbacks, 12 goals, 9 assists on the year. He can hurt you in so many different ways. If I'm a Switchbacks fan, I want Michi Galina on the ball early and often and asking questions of Sacramento in that back line.
With no disrespect to RGV and the threat they posed to Colorado Springs last week, it's a bit of a step up this time. Sacramento, been there, done that. This is their 9th knockout game of the season.
And that's just incredible to think about a USL Championship saying that. Obviously taking down MLS teams going into the Open Cup final. Mark Briggs says, look, there's 3 tournaments in the season. We have the regular season, you have the Open Cup, and now this is the second game of the playoffs. You got the first game done. Now it's time to take care of business here at Sacramento.
They didn't just make the U.S. Open Cup final. They didn't just win last week against New Mexico. They've been dominant in knockout games this season.
And it's just a luxury to have to know what to deal with in situations like this when it's do or die. The pressure's on. Who's going to step out? If you're Mark Briggs, that's the coach that you want yelling at you in motivation before this game, so expect Sacramento to come out firing.
San Antonio is through. We know that. They await the winner of this one between Colorado Springs and Sacramento. Switchbacks have never made it to a conference final. Sacramento hasn't been there since they put the star above the crest in 2014, but one will make it through tonight. Who will it be? We find out next from Widener Field.
Think you know football? Well, here's your chance to prove it. Enter our Fox 21 High West Siding and Windows Pro Football Challenge. One lucky national grand prize winner will get a trip for 2 to beautiful Hawaii or $5,000 in cold hard cash. Local weekly winners will receive a $25 Amazon gift card. Plus, at the end of the football season, one local winner will get a big screen TV. Go to fox21news.com today to enter your picks and check back weekly to see how you match up against other fans in Southern Colorado.
The FIFA World Cup has moved to the holidays.
Oh my gooseberries, this is gonna make everything wonderful.
We got work to do. We're gonna need a ton of stars and sweaters.
And lots of mistletoe.
Isn't he getting kind of old?
3,000 more Mbappe!
You know what we need? A song.
Do you have any idea how busy I am this time of year?
Okay, maybe not a song, but just think of the lights. And the U.S. winning it all would be a Christmas miracle.
Join Fox 21 and SoCo CW as we celebrate our veterans at the 22nd Annual Veterans Day Parade in downtown Colorado Springs on Saturday, November 5th at 10 a.m. This year's theme, Serving the Forces for Mission Success, will honor our veterans for their service with military and high school bands, military and veteran organizations, junior ROTC units, equestrians, and more down Tejon from St. Vrain to Vermajo. For more information, visit cosvetsparade.org.
ready to get things going at Widener Field. Today's player walkout is sponsored by Children's Hospital Colorado, and it's time to dive into the starting lineup for this one. So much talent on both sides of the equation, and tonight's starting lineups are presented by Phil Long. We begin with the Switchbacks. Not much different from last week for Brendan Burke.
And it's going to be very interesting. You look at that middle three, Lindley, Echeverria, and Zandy. How good can they be, and how comfortable on the ball can they be to give Galena, to give Enriquez, and give Amo on and behind that Sacramento Republic? If you're Brendan Burke, this starting 11 needs to be good, needs to be confident, and needs to get in a rhythm in the first 15 minutes.
On the other side for Sacramento, there's no reason to change anything, so Mark Briggs doesn't change anything.
And I'm looking at Lopez, I'm looking at Keko. How good have they been throughout this season for Mark Briggs? They are the heartbeat of this team. You have LaGrassa, you have Felipe that make everything, and then it's Villadere, it's Gurr getting up and down in their attacking phase like as they see fit. But it's very interesting that back to Lacroix. High praise from Mark Briggs this week. He said he's been the best defender since coming into the lineup. So if you're Mark Briggs, this is the side that's going to get it done.
Malik Foster has been a revelation as this season has gone along for Sacramento. Ended up with 7 goals in his 11 starts, 24 appearances overall. Helped them last week as well on the attacking end. This stadium, as we mentioned, well, they were waiting for 4 years from the time it was announced to last week to host a home playoff game. In the first season last year, missed out. They made up for it last week to get another one tonight. Sergei Demyanchuk is the man in charge of this one.
Shooting the home players.
Fans, it's Saturday night, it's soccer night. Are you ready?
One spot in the Western Conference Final already determined. San Antonio 3-0 last night over the Oakland Roots. They will be joined by either the Switchbacks or Republic, and we are underway at Widener Field. From left to right in the white, Sacramento, and then from right to left in the black and blue. It is the Switchbacks with Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us tonight on ESPN Plus for the USL Championship playoffs, brought to you by Hisense. Long try from midfield here, keeping Vidiello honest. Jairo Enriquez, confident maybe from last week. You scored one of those in your day in USL League One. It's always a bit of an adrenaline rush watching that ball in the air, seeing if you could find a home for it in the net.
And obviously when you have a keeper like Vidiello, who's very adventurous when he comes off his line, you're Echeverria, and Zandy, Enriquez, Galena always have to have a peek up to see where that man is in around his 18-yard box. Doesn't need a second invitation to be that sweeper keeper for Sacramento Republic. Already 1 minute in, you never want to see this. LaGrassa just comes in through the back of Amo, catches him, but it's such a big part of what Colorado Springs does going forward. That target man can run in behind, can spin around. He needs to be very good and very confident in occupying that back line of Sacramento.
Injury stoppage brought to you by Centura Health. But back underway now. Brendan Burke felt that this Colorado Springs team could have had a couple of goals in the first 5 minutes of the game last week against RGV. Felt they came out firing, and maybe that same early spark is there tonight, but the offside flag thwarts this attack by Michi Galena before it begins. So 2 different starts for both of these teams. Last week, Mark Briggs felt that Sacramento could have been scored on a couple of times by New Mexico, and Colorado Springs felt they could have scored on RGV a couple of times themselves. So these first 10 to 15 minutes, crucial. Will it be the same sloppy start from Sacramento and the same fast start from Colorado Springs? If it is, we could see an early goal on the board from the Switchbacks.
And it's going to be very interesting to see how both of these teams approach. You're asking Mark Briggs, he's going to get into his boys, obviously, moments before walking out. The motivation factor, the way that he's able to get in and get the best out of his players, but then also Brendan Burke, players love to play for him. They know what it means to play for this Colorado Springs Switchbacks organization, what it means to the city. So expect them to come out especially in this first 15 minutes as well.
Mahoney plays it through. Jairo Enriquez dispossessed. And Echeverria able to play it off of a defender and out for a throw-in.
Hey, Duke, I met your girlfriend today. I cried to the gods.
3-0 for Colorado Springs on July 1st here on this field. 3-0 for Sacramento on August 15th in Sacramento. Now, neither coach expected this game to be as open or as one-sided. Brendan Burke chalked up those 2 results to some mitigating circumstances. The 3-0 win at home, he said it was just one of those special days for Haji Barry, and you don't get that every day of the week from every player on your team. And then the loss at Sacramento, it was Colorado Springs' 9th game in 35 days, so they felt going into that game that they wouldn't have much underneath them with their legs. Felt to be much tighter tonight. Playoff environment, two teams that are both capable of going on to lift the trophy here. So don't expect a 3-0 result that we saw both times these teams met this season.
Plumbing and Heating Company, serving and building Colorado Springs for 105 years.
Something to look out if you're Colorado Springs is how good can you make Vidaire and Gerd do their defensive duties the way Mark Briggs wants to play. He wants to play expansive. He wants those guys to get into that final third. So if you're able to push them back, make that back line of 5 across, you're going to have a lot of real estate for Galena, for Enriquez to get in those half pockets. So it's always going to be that game of cat and mouse between the wide players for both of these sides. Brendan Burke says, look, we need to make those wing backs for Sacramento do more of their defensive duties.
Michael Edwards goes back and forth with Steven Echeverria. Now through to Enriquez. Luis Felipe touches it along for Aurora Lopez. So much playoff experience in this Sacramento side, led by the 9 appearances of Rodrigo Lopez, who helped put that star above the crest for Sacramento back in 2014. Mahoney. Tristan Hodge. The ball over the top, hoping for Amo. And there's another glimpse at the adventures of Danny Vitiello. Will be all around the box tonight. There was a moment last week against New Mexico where they almost caught him out and made him pay. It's a double-edged sword. There are balls that he gets to that most keepers wouldn't to help you. There are times where I'm sure Mark Briggs is sitting there wondering why the heck he came off his line. But the track record speaks for itself for Vitiello, as Anderson is still laid out on the turf. Vitiello, goals against average, sub-1 this year, 0.91. Last season, 0.96. 2020, he was the Golden Glove winner at 0.50. So however he does it, whatever the method to his madness is, he does it.
Come on, Cam!
Hodge. Nice move by Hodge. Keko forced into a tackle. Sergei Demianchuk, his first real decision to make. We've seen less given yellow cards than that, but it looks like Demianchuk lets Keko off with a warning.
And it's a good start for Colorado Springs, making Sacramento do a lot of their defensive duties. You can just see how deep they're sitting. It's a nice little nifty move here from Hodge. Little dip of the shoulder, gets Keko biting, and now it's a very dangerous set piece here to whip this ball in and ask questions of Vitiello. You're aiming for right between that 6-yard box and that penalty mark. The quality that Brendan Burke has at his disposal in these set pieces is going to be massive going forward for the Switchbacks.
Ask Brendan Burke if there was one weakness holding the Switchbacks back from winning the title this year, what would that be? He said it was set pieces defensively. There have been times this year where they've really struggled and given up goals they shouldn't on defensive set pieces, but attacking set pieces haven't quite been an issue. Very dangerous team in the air. Cam Lindley goes short with it. Played down to Zach Zandy in the corner, and they earn a corner out of it. This corner kick brought to you by Pikes Peak National Bank. Bank well, be well, cheer loud. Elvis Amo leads the way for the players out there. The Switchbacks, 13 goals on the season. Short to Zandy. Zandy whips it in. Galena settles. Anderson for Galena at the end line. No trouble for Vitiello.
The ability to play on the right-hand side centrally in the left-hand side is one of the biggest attributes of Michi Galena. He starts centrally, but now he shifts out to the right-hand side. The underlapping run from Anderson. In the end, Sacramento's defensively positioned perfect. I think Mark Briggs, you're going to want to get Felipe LaGrassa on the ball a bit more. 8 minutes in, no really sense of possession for the Sacramento Republic side.
Malik Foster goes down in a heap. Don't believe there's a foul called here, just a stoppage by Demyanchuk for the possible head injury.
Streetcar 520, good food, good vibes for a fresh drink before or after each game.
And how good over the remainder of this season has Malik Foster been for Sacramento Republic? A big question mark for Sacramento was who's going to be the number 9, who is going to put the ball into the back of net. And this man has really answered that question. 8 goals, 1 assist on the year, with the ability to stretch the game, get in behind opposition, and give real estate for Keko, for Roro Lopez to come underneath. He needs to be very active, very confident, and asking a lot of questions of Colorado Springs, Malik Foster, if Sacramento wants any shot of going into the Western Conference Final.
And one of the big keys to this game that Mark Briggs laid out for Sacramento was possession in the early stages of this game. Acknowledge the crowd would be electric. Acknowledge that Colorado Springs would likely come out on the front foot the same way they did last week. How do you solve that? Possess the ball a little bit, take the sting out of the game, quiet the crowd. Haven't quite done that so far through nearly 10 minutes. 75% of the possession has gone the Switchbacks' way. This was supposed to be one of 3 games going on tonight. Memphis and Tampa Bay postponed due to weather. That'll take place now tomorrow. Another game going on right now is Louisville and Pittsburgh. More on that in a second. We have an update to get you out of that game. Foster unable to get there ahead of Edwards. LaGrassa looking for it. Galena finds it. LaGrassa goes down again. Stuck with it. And the flag is up. Everybody was looking around waiting for it. It was delayed enough to give some people a nervous little moment there. Even Rodrigo Lopez looked over, didn't see it, and then started toward goal, only to be stopped in his tracks. Didn't seem like Mark Briggs agreed with it. He was halfway down the touchline.
He's getting ready to celebrate.
Lindley gives it away. And Casey takes his space over the top, trying to send Foster on a run. And it's all the way through to Caldwell. Jeff Caldwell, finalist for goalkeeper of the year last year after a stellar season in Hartford.
And so interesting. You see what Sacramento Republic is doing in that high press, trying to make life extremely difficult for Colorado Springs Switchbacks. It's Felipe, it's LaGrassa playing like for like with Echeverria, with Lindley, not letting them be that outlet that Colorado Springs is so good at changing the point of attack, getting Michi Galena. But when this back line for Brendan Burke has the ball, that's when you need a Henriquez, a Zanti to drop in and give that different support system to break lines throughout their passing and vertical play.
Here's Lacroix. You mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Ricky, he drew a lot of praise from Mark Briggs this week for what he's done defensively, filling in after the injury to Desmond. Chance here for Galena. It's blocked. Bit off balance as he tried to take it. Might have benefited from an extra touch. Had more time than I think you realized a dozen minutes into this one. Either side with a really dangerous opportunity.
And once again, it's just that relationship between Amo and Galena. As Amo drops in, Galena is the one that runs in behind. You can see what he's trying to do, trying to open up his hips and find that far post. But lucky enough, Casey once again positioned defensively, was spot on at that moment.
Here's Keko, flag stays down. Foster making the run up the middle. Keko forced toward the corner flag. His ball drifts out for a goal kick, and with that, we have for you an update from Louisville and Pittsburgh. It is 1-0 Pittsburgh Riverhounds, a goal first 15 minutes into play. Cicerone got on the end of this one from Mertz. It's the first time, Ricky, this season at home that Louisville conceded in the first 15 minutes of action.
And who else? Russell Cicerone. How clinical of a finisher is he? Able to get his hips around that, put that near post. 1-0 for Bob Lilly. He's nice to be sitting nice and happy right now.
LaGrassa read the play, almost got there. Now Lacroix does. Keko dummied it to nobody. Hands on hips, looking over at Jack Gurr, thought he was making the run. Only player who had a chance at that, or only person I should say, was the assistant referee.
Once again, a bit sloppy in terms of both teams. Colorado Springs having a very difficult side to play out of their back. When Sacramento gains possession, unable to connect a couple passes.
Mark Briggs expects and wants perfection at all times, and we know that, especially after the chat we had with him this week about what was said in the locker room at halftime against New Mexico. But to your point about the sloppiness, it bodes well for Sacramento. I think they were most worried coming into this game about the first 15 to 20 minutes, the energy boost that Colorado Springs might have from the crowd. They'll take 0-0 and sloppy through 20 minutes. That's when they started to grow into the game. Last week against New Mexico, found their footing around the half-hour mark. Could have put in a couple of goals right before halftime, didn't. It went scoreless into the half, and they scored right out of the break. Went on to win it handily.
When you talked, we have to be completely engaged defensively when you're individual battles, and you already see that, those individual battles coming out in terms of the middle of the field. Whether it's LaGrassa, whether it's Felipe pressing high, trying to force turnovers in their attacking phase, and when they do that, Colorado Springs like to play expansive. They like to spread the field from left to right and up to back, so they're going to be extremely vulnerable. So if you're playing out of the back, whether you're Hodge, Mahoney, Edwards, Anderson on the ball, you have to be extremely clean, decisive in the way that you pick out your passes.
You've been in that Mark Briggs dressing room. You know that he can be not so nice. He said as much. We asked him how that locker room chat went, and he said, I said some not so nice things to people. Some people were annoyed by it. Some people didn't love it, but they accepted it, respected it, and they took it to heart, and they completely changed in the second half, and they were much more locked in. He admitted it's part of the profession. Sometimes you got to lean into some people and hope you get the proper response, and his group responded in a big way last week against New Mexico.
You have to give such praise, not only Mark Briggs, but Brendan Burke as well. Yes, these players are professional footballers. Once again, you just see how vertical, and when Colorado Springs is vertical, they have a lot of real estate to break that initial press. And Zandy, Mark Briggs had such high praise for him, and he's able to play in that pocket division. As he gets off the shoulder of Felipe, it's Michi Galina, and he is about a yard off. You can see there, leaning over. Casey is a bit deeper. I think it's a right call from the referee. Just maybe a bit of a warning side for the Switchbacks against Sacramento to say, hey, look, we can play direct as well. Going back to just the management from both of these organizations. Yes, they're professional footballers, but they're also people at the end of the day. You have to be able to manage, know what buttons to press and how to deal with them to get the best out of these sides. And Mark Briggs, Brendan Burke are two of the best in the USL Championship at doing that.
Here's Edwards for Anderson. Two of the late season loanees from Colorado Rapids. Brendan Burke spoke about that relationship with the Rapids organization, still very strong, and had been a deep connection for a number of years. Both Edwards and Anderson were loaned from the Rapids to the Switchbacks last year. This year a little bit different with MLS Next Pro in the equation. Lacroix takes it here, able to get it clear. With that league coming into fruition this year, it meant that Anderson and Edwards had a home for much of the year and didn't spend as much time with the Switchbacks, but they knew the way the calendar was set up, that season would end right as this season was winding down and getting into the postseason. So able to get Anderson and Edwards in as major boosts going into September. Edwards went on to start 8 games. Anderson went on to start 5, and they now start here in the Western Conference semifinal. Testament to their talent and a testament to that relationship still between the Switchbacks and the Rapids.
Come on, Cam.
Lindley puts it behind Michi Galina. Over the top here to Lopez. Flag stays down. Rodrigo Lopez to chip, and it is in. Did you think it would be anybody else? Roro Lopez, 1-0, 18th minute.
Not even over there and you still suck. How do you allow that? Quit it.
And how good is this from Sacramento Republic? Yes, you want to play possession-based, methodical in the way that you break through lines. But as Casey picks up his head, Roro, the movement, top class, understand, yes, we're drawing out Colorado Springs. Let me just go in behind, let me test them. Talk about a first touch and how clinical, how cheeky as he sees Jeff Caldwell off his line. Do we have to pull this off with players coming out the backside? The technical ability, the awareness, the class of Roro Lopez and how much he's meant to Sacramento Republic. Mark Briggs, dream start here in Colorado Springs.
It's his 10th USL Championship playoff game. It's his 5th goal. It's so tough to tell right there. That's maybe the best look we have at it at the very beginning there. The ball was played. He's edge of the picture. So tough to tell whether he was on or off. All that matters in the end without VAR. The flag stayed down, the ball went in the net, and the score is 1-0. We're underway again here at Widener.
And now it's all about the reaction here for Colorado Springs. How good can you get yourself back into this game, get the confidence? You were probably the better of the two teams before that goal goes in. You need to get this man on the ball, Lindley, Zandy as well. Galina's been extremely quiet, 20 minutes in. Need him up and active, confident, taking players on and expressing himself in that final third. So now it's another test for those Colorado Springs and Brendan Burke's boys.
Now, from the looks we have at it, it's very tough to tell. Live, it was such a split-second thing, I couldn't tell live. But, Ricky, we saw a few minutes ago, remember, there was that moment where Lopez did the same thing. Everybody was looking around, and the flag happened to come up. That had to have been a warning shot for Colorado Springs. You can't let it happen again with the margin so slim here in the postseason.
When you look at the replay as well, it's Mahoney, it's Edwards. They're not even on the same plane. Mahoney's a bit higher up the field. Edwards is just a bit straggling back, and that's what I think keeps on Roro Lopez. Obviously, the cam angle that we have, unable to see the line. We don't have the luxury of having VAR, but you have to play to the whistle. You have to work together, compactness, discipline in that back line. You're looking at the film, Brendan Burke's not going to be happy with the lack of organization in that back line in that goal.
Can they get it back quickly here before we head into the break? Have plenty of time to do so. This is, we think, the best look we have at it. And Roro is off your picture when the ball's played. You fast forward a second, it's impossible to tell whether or not Edwards took a step up in that last moment there. It's as close as it gets with the looks we have. But again, knowing that that just happened 5-ish minutes prior, where Lopez was tiptoeing the back line, daring the ball to be played over the top, seems like you just have to be more alert than they were there.
And it's just too many players not on the same page. It was Echeverria stepping back as at center back. He's pressed high. Mahoney knows where he is. And then Edwards is the one that is the deepest. Does he drop in? Does he drop off? But how ruthless, and that's a word that Mark Briggs told us that we need to do. They need to be ruthless inside of both of 18-yard box. And what is that? What about that? Roro Lopez won't look at goal. One ball in the back of the net. Fantastic stuff from the skipper.
16 0-5, scoring first this season, Sacramento. They know how to play with the lead. And just throw that one on the pile of the big goals scored by Rodrigo Lopez, not only in his career, but just this year. Scored the winning penalty in Open Cup to put them through the final. Scored against LA Galaxy on the road. Scores this one here. It's just been time and time again, and he has gotten it done. Even last year, in that year he spent with RGV, the free kick goal in the playoffs against Phoenix to put that one deeper into the game. Just has a knack for it. Vitiello, look out. That's the third time we've gotten into the adventures of Danny Vitiello, and he was nervous about that one. Fortunately for Vitiello, it ended up over the bar.
I'll tell you what, coming into this match, I did not know how important the positioning of Jeff Caldwell and Danny Vitiello is going to be. Obviously, Caldwell gets chipped. And this one, Enriquez, once again, just sees Vitiello off his line, tries his luck. Another warning shot. But you have to love the courageousness here from Enriquez, the quality that he has, even put it on target. Was fortunate enough, a yard or two, too much weight on it.
Gecko closed down quickly by Zandy. Amo. Just seems like every second ball right now is being won by Sacramento. Right there, you had to look at it. It was Dan Casey and LaGrassa both getting there before Amo did. You know what this Sacramento team brings to the table? They're very sound structurally, sound defensively. Brendan Burke said as much. We asked him to break down Sacramento for us. They're not going to beat themselves. That was the main takeaway. They're strong at every line of the field. And the biggest thing is the mentality. He had the players mainly focus on the last couple of games in terms of the scout and the film study, but he himself, Brendan Burke, and the staff went back to look at some of the games in that Open Cup run just to get a feel for how relentless in the pursuit this Sacramento team is, committed to the cause as a whole. Everybody pulling in the same direction in a knockout game on the road. And he was very impressed by what he saw every step of the way in that tournament. Great ball played through here to Enriquez. Centers it. Knocked away before Galena could tap it home by Connor Donovan. Galena recovers and gives it away. Just not on the same page right now, the Switchbacks.
But it's the best passage of play here from the Switchbacks. Again, this ball comes around the corner to Enriquez, and it's a nightmare to defend. When you get that cutback ball, yes, you want to drop back and help your goalkeeper and crash towards that back line. And Connor Donovan does extremely well. He understands that, yes, I have players around me coming back, but I'm going to stay out. I'm going to try to cut out this back pass. Enriquez, good look, better defensive play there from Connor Donovan. But just movements like that for the Switchbacks, so you need to get on the same page a bit more, creating space for each other, quick combinations in around that 18-yard box. They're just so good, so explosive. So get your attacking players to express themselves around that 18-yard box is going to be key.
Hodge, a great ball, the header over the bar. Enriquez again sneaks through. Every near opportunity they've had tonight has come from that man knocking on the door. Still nobody home.
And it's almost picture perfect, like that goal against RGV. Just comes in from the right-hand side. Essentially, good ball over the top from Tristan Hodge. And as he rises up, he beats Vidier and Vitiello. That's underneath the crossbar. It's 1-1. He's been a bright spot for Brendan Burke. 26 minutes in, just the movement, the space that he picks up, just a nightmare to defend.
Brendan Burke had very high praise for Jairo Enriquez. Said he gives this team a different look. A lot of the front four players for the Switchbacks team, they're programmed the same way. They get forward, they stretch the field. Enriquez wired a little bit differently. He's keen to come inside, underneath, easy for the opponents to lose track of him. And he can hurt you in a number of ways, whether it's stretching the field, whether it's coming underneath. And it's that dynamic that he brings, that different dynamic, I should say, from some of the other talented attacking players on the Switchbacks team that have made him so impactful down the stretch this year. 11 starts, 4 goals, 4 assists after signing in June, after a career spent entirely in El Salvador. Anderson slips it through. On it again. Sebastian Anderson from Sacramento, California. Never came up through the Sacramento organization in any way. Colorado Rapids Academy since 2017, and then has gone back and forth on loan between the Rapids and Switchbacks a few times. Through Toramo, punched away by Vitiello, and the offside flag came up anyway.
They're just so good at just playing off the shoulder of the opposition, whether it's Galena, whether it's Enriquez, this time it's Amo. In terms of communication, your Sacramento Republic needs to be spot on between Lacroix, Donovan, and Casey, passing players on. You never want to crisscross. That's when you see the confusion. And again, it's a good response for Colorado Springs. Obviously, you let that goal in. 7 minutes ago. And getting Enriquez on the ball a bit more, testing Vidiello to come off his line. But again, you want Lindley. Zandy has been extremely quiet on the ball for Brendan Burke, able to pull the strings and pick apart, open up gaps against this Sacramento Republic defensive unit.
Halftime between Louisville and Pittsburgh. Still 1-0 Pittsburgh. So right now we've got both road teams in both of the games up 1-0. San Antonio took care of business last night 3-0 against Oakland. Look out, dangerous pass back through the middle here. Now taken by LaGrassa. Lopez flicks it. Just dangerous in every capacity. Switchbacks playing around the back, and then Galena can't get a hold of it. Not much has gone right for Colorado Springs through nearly a half an hour.
It hasn't been the cleanest start for Michi Galena as well. Too many sloppy touches. This is getting played out of bounds, but you know him, you know how professional he is. The praise that Brendan Burke gave him. He's a player that's able to switch and change this game at a drop of a hat. To get him involved, have him keep asking questions and getting in behind the Republic back line.
Such a talented young player. Brendan Burke said he's comfortable in his own skin. Over to Zandy here. Vidiello read it well again. That was the biggest aspect of Michi Galena's game that drew the praise from Brendan Burke. Doesn't seem to be as young as he is. Been a pro now for 4 years. Handles himself so well with a calmness and a poise. And that rubs off on everybody else. Such an easygoing kid. Never rattled by the moment or the stature of the game. And as you mentioned, can change the game at a moment's notice. Hodge. Here's Galena again. Michi touches it along for Zandy. Finds its way back to Galena. Stopped by Vidiello. Almost surprised him at the near post. Stuck out the right paw and kept Sacramento in the lead.
And he's starting to wake up now, 30 minutes in, Michi Galena, as he picks up this ball in between the lines, gets off the shoulder of LaGrassa. It's a bit fortunate in the rebound. The way that he hits it, seemed like he was just a bit surprised, didn't really have that belief that he was going to find the back of the net. I think he has more of an angle if he tries to go far post. He tries to catch Vidiello sleeping in the end. It's a big-time save from that man to keep this lead for Sacramento intact.
Pikes Peak National Bank corner kick. Dangerously through the 6. And finally, the crisis averted here for Sacramento. Nothing has been clean for the Switchbacks. Every opportunity they've had, it's been testing the waters from distance. It's been that one where Galena was caught by surprise. So was Vidiello, to be fair. That corner goes through the 6 dangerously, but there's nobody there to tap it home.
And it's a big no-no when you let the ball bounce in your 18-yard box offensively. But as it hips off the turf for Edwards, unable to see it through, time it right, and he heads it up and over.
This might be the earliest time-wasting warning we've ever seen in the USL Championship. 31 minutes in. Danny Vidiello asked by Sergei Demyanchuk to hurry things up. I'm all for just giving the yellow card right there. Just nip it in the bud entirely. You do it right there, and this is not Demyanchuk's fault. No referee is going to give a yellow card in that situation. And maybe that's why I'm not a referee at this level. But I've always been for just giving it early. Hey, I can do the youth stuff.
I know, you got your license. There you go.
But if you're going to go all the way down there and talk to him about it,
I agree with you.
You know, just make sure he doesn't do it again by giving him the yellow.
Now, next time, Vidiello, he knows he's walking a very thin line.
Zandy making the run. The cut in from Enriquez. Again, there's a look at it. He's not necessarily always looking to go forward like some of the other attacking players. Cuts it in underneath to see if he can pull the strings from underneath. But nobody was there. Lindley with some space. Galena. Over a half an hour gone in this one from Widener Field. Alongside Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us tonight on ESPN Plus. Western Conference semifinal in the USL Championship playoffs, brought to you by Hisense. Colorado Springs have never made it through to a conference final ever since they started things back in 2015. Sacramento Republic, they won it all in 2014. They've never been back to a conference final since then. So something's got to give here. San Antonio awaits next week, Sunday, in the Western Conference Final. A misleading 3-0 victory for them last night over the Oakland Roots. It was 1-0 until about 15 minutes remaining. And then Patino just scored a worldie to make it 2-0. And then one of the weirdest goals you'll see, a couple minutes remaining, there was a free kick for San Antonio. They faked like they were going to the corner, and they ended up scoring off of it. So misleading in the 3-0. Oakland had opportunities to tie it when it was 1-1. San Antonio had opportunities to score. It was a game you had to kind of watch to understand.
Yeah.
I guess I'd say there were runs for both teams, but there were opportunities to be had. San Antonio had something like only 30% of possession. Saw the stat, it was the fewest passes completed by a winning team in a playoff game since 2017. So it wasn't as dominant as the 3-0 scoreline would have indicated.
You can draw parallels for this game as well to say how clinical you are in both 18-yard box. That was a difference for San Antonio. And obviously here, Sacramento, clear opportunity. Robo sticks it into the back of the net. And defensively, they've had every single answered question asked upon for Colorado Springs. Defensively, Mark Briggs has to be extremely happy for his boys' performance for 34 minutes in just terms of not probably their best product on the field, but saying that they've really took the sting out of this stadium, has been probably more proactive in their defensive efforts and really frustrating Colorado Springs.
What do you want to see from Colorado Springs in these final 10 minutes before halftime here? A goal obviously would be nice, but is there anything in particular you'd like to have in your back pocket mentally going into the locker room?
I just think it needs to be cleaner in terms of connecting passes. How many passes have we seen from Galena, from Zandy, from Henriquez in the combination play? Moments ago, Joe, you talked about the movement. Henriquez comes underneath, it pops back out to Cam Lilly, and he's unable to connect that pass to the overlapping rung of Anderson. And that is Colorado Springs' bread and butter. Able to pull players out of position, have that combination play, plays players through. They haven't really found the key to unlock the Sacramento defensive unit. When you look at the record of Sacramento, 34 goals against on the year. So they're very good defensively in the positioning, but it just needs to be cleaner for those switchbacks.
On the other side, if you're Sacramento, just keep things the way they are. You've done what you needed to do. You've got the goal on the road. You're muddying up the game where nothing is clean for Colorado Springs. I'm sure, again, a perfectionist that he is, Mark Briggs will want more from this team in the second half, but if you would have told him he'd be up 1-0 at this juncture of the match, he probably would have signed up for it immediately.
And you see how many players they have sitting deep. It's Malik Foster, who's your number 9 at the end of the circle in your defensive phase. Just such a hard thing to do, to break down this defensive mid to low block bus that they park in right now. Here the switchbacks move the ball quick from left to right, have a lot of movement to pull players out of position. That's the way you're going to break down the structure.
Zandy to Galena. Mishi Galena opens up, it's deflected and in! 1-1.
And I just talked about the movement. How clean can you be in breaking lines? Pulling players out of position, playing vertical, all of the above. We haven't seen it for 35 minutes. The one time we do see it, it results in a goal. How good of a ball is this from Edwards to break this line? And then Zandy playing in the half pocket. But something you don't see is that run from Amo that pulls out a defender of Sacramento Republic. And when you get Michi Galena in this position, more times often than not, he's going to find the back of the net. Yes, he gets a bit fortunate, but at this point in time, you do not care how you win this game, how you score goals, and you have a bit of a celebration to the corner. If you're Brendan Burke, that's exactly what the doctor ordered to get yourself back into this match.
Game on. And it's a moment like that that can maybe spur more now for the Switchbacks.
And we just talked about it, Joe. We say, look, he hasn't been the cleanest. He hasn't been the Michi Galini that we've come to expect throughout this season. Too many sloppy passes, too many sloppy first touches. But one thing that stayed constant about him is that he can change games in a matter of moments, produce something that no one else in this USL Championship can do. You give him an opportunity in around that 18-yard box, he's going to make you pay.
It's the two usual suspects on both sides. Rodrigo Lopez started things off back in the 18th minute. There was some ambiguity as to whether he was on or off. Goal counted. 37th minute, Michi Galina, beneficiary of a deflection. Soccer guys maybe evening things out in the event that the first goal might have been offside. They get the deflection here. And we've got a brand new ball game. Down toward Amo and cleared away by Dan Casey. Yellow card was just shown by Demianchuk. It was to Matt LaGrassa officially. So now LaGrassa has to be careful in the middle of the park. Yellow card issued to Matt LaGrassa, brought to you by Diversus Health. Diversus Health, mental health and well-being for all. Remember to take a moment to breathe.
This catches Cam Lindley when this ball's gone. Now if you're LaGrassa and Felipe, what does that relationship look like? The way that Colorado Springs, they like to play down centrally, movement in and around the opposition. So he needs to be very disciplined in his challenges. His position needs to be spot on in the center midfield for Mark Briggs' boys.
Give it away. Foster will get there. Pressured immediately and taken down cleanly. Out for a throw-in in favor of the Switchbacks. Now everything changes with 5 minutes to go before halftime. And Sacramento probably sitting there hoping that it's still at the very least 1-1. And that Colorado Springs doesn't capitalize on that momentum to get another. Here's Galina around Vidiello, where you go, and saved off the line by Casey. Wow. We've highlighted it 3 times already, the adventures of Danny Vidiello, and he was almost burned that time.
And how many times have we seen this from the Switchbacks? Lindley picked up his head. It's Galina getting in behind. The rotation is not good enough for Sacramento Republic. And the positioning for Danny Vidiello is certainly not good enough. But what is good enough is a recovery run from Dan Casey. Michi Galina does everything right, heads it around, puts the ball on target. But give credit, last-ditch defending efforts from Casey to keep this game 1-1.
Corner brought to you by McDavid Law Firm. We are in your corner. Under 5 minutes to go here in the half. 1-1 between the Switchbacks and Republic. It is 2-0 in the other game. Pittsburgh added on another. We'll show it to you when we have an opportunity. But Louisville, having been to each of the Eastern Conference Finals since they've come into existence, in peril of not making it this year with the top seed in the East. Played through for Zandy. Headed away by Donovan. A lot of contact there. It goes against the Switchbacks. Enriquez tried to draw the foul, ended up committing it.
And it's better defensively on the left-hand side for Sacramento Republic. Too many times it was Villader, it was Lacroix getting pulled out. So many pockets of space that Enriquez was able to come across. This time Villader pushes high. Lacroix does the rotation to come underneath him and draw the foul.
For some time, Sacramento was holding up its end of the bargain, and they have plenty of time to get back on top. But so far, it's been the night of the road teams under the USL umbrella. We've got Pittsburgh up 2-0. Over in USL League One, you had the Chattanooga Red Wolves win 1-0 on the road in the semifinal against the Richmond Kickers. At the moment, you have South Georgia Tormenta up 1-0 with a half an hour to go on the road against Greenville Triumph. Memphis and Tampa Bay is now tomorrow. So the 4 games you have tonight under the USL umbrella, 3 of the 4, the road team is either winning or has already gone on to win in the case of the Red Wolves. It was that way here until a few moments ago. 1-1 between the Switchbacks and Republic here. About 2 minutes to go, plus stoppage time here in the first half. From Widener Field, with Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. San Antonio awaits in the Western Conference Final next week.
And one thing for Mark Briggs, he's going to want the middle players to get on the ball more. Felipe Lagrossa, Lopez, Keko. Yes, it's been a choppy game. No one really, in terms of possession, has been the dominant force. But you have difference makers. You have game changers, and those players, the experience that you have in that middle field for you guys, you need to get on the ball a bit more. Play on your tempo, dictate tempo, move the ball from left to right. It's just not clicking at the moment for either side, but especially, how many times have we said Felipe in the attacking phase, who's been so special for this Republic side?
I haven't really said anybody's name all that much in the attacking half of the field. They just had the one moment where Rodrigo Lopez did or didn't tiptoe the line properly. All that matters is it was called as he did stay onside and then chip the keeper, Jeff Caldwell. That is still their only shot on the night.
And you can see, look, in the bottom of your screen, Mark Briggs, very animated, telling Felipe, open up your hips and circulate the ball, play possession base. Too many times they're forcing the issue as the ball comes from one side, trying to force it back. And you're in the middle of the field, especially for a coach like Mark Briggs, you always have to have your hips open.
Gurr whips it in. Only 1 minute of stoppage time here in the first half. Stoppage time brought to you by TikTok Shop.
Let's go, Switchbacks!
And when I talk about hips open, I mean you're able to receive the ball from the right-hand side, go out the left-hand side, play and pick and choose which way you go, dictate tempo, change the point of attack.
Play on to Sergei Demianchuk, Duke Lacroix. Cycles it back. Here's Lagrossa. Lagrossa. Now Mishi Galina. And out for a corner. Jack Gurr picked up a yellow for the challenge on Enriquez before Galina came away with the ball.
So Qual's just nipping at the ankles of Enriquez. He started to feel a confidence after the goal from Michi Galina for the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. Playing most of this first half in their attacking phase. Testing the shape of Sacramento in terms of ball possession, rotation. And so far, for Brendan Burke, you have to feel the momentum going into halftime.
Pikes Peak corner, punched away by Vitiello. Michi Galina, one last try maybe before halftime, and there is your halftime whistle. Switchbacks 1, Republic 1. A first half that started sloppy, then woke up a little bit with the goals. Probably a fair result to be 1-1 going into the locker room.
And it's very interesting. You start the game and both teams very sloppy, too many wayward passes, too many sloppy turnovers, but Colorado Springs start to find the rhythm. You saw the goal through the center of the field, breaking lines, rotation. Sacramento Republic, you haven't had much possession. The only chance that you had is that goal from Roro Lopez, but how quiet has Foster, Keko, LaGrassa, Felipe, Guerin, Villader, that so many names that we've seen get into the attacking phase and express themselves, ask questions of the opposition. If you're Mark Briggs, it's going to be a very stern halftime talk once again, and it's going to be all to play for in this next 45 minutes.
Well, last week, Sacramento woke up in a big way going into the early stages of the second half. Switchbacks came on strong in the second half last week, too, and won 3-0 over RGV. Something's got to give tonight between Colorado Springs and Sacramento. We're back with more in a few moments.
We are Southern Colorado.
Saturday during the summers was our get up and go to Monument Lake fishing. From a little hobby as an 11-year-old kid, it's turned into quite a business.
Our stories matter.
If they're on the trails, if they're in the woods, if they're anywhere, I can be with them now.
Bringing you the most local news.
All of the people that are doing this type of agriculture are trying to do a better thing for society.
We are Fox 21, and together we are Southern Colorado.
I moved here about 8 years ago to join the Fox 21 News team. I thought I'd only be here for a couple of years, but I absolutely fell in love with Southern Colorado. I also fell in love with a Pueblo boy when I was interviewing him about his food truck. Now we're married, we have this little girl, and my parents actually owned a restaurant in Arkansas, a catfish restaurant, so it's exciting that my daughter gets to grow up in a restaurant too, in her daddy's kitchen in Pueblo.
Yeah. Watch Taylor Bishop, weeknights at 5, 6:30, 9, and 10.
U.S. goalkeeper Ethan Horvath's story began in the Mile High City.
I was born in Denver, Colorado, and I grew up in Highlands Ranch. Growing up, my dad was coach at Columbine High School, so I've been around the sport my whole life.
Ethan dazzled his hometown fans last summer against Mexico in the Nations League final, and he plans to make all of Denver proud once again this fall in Qatar.
The World Cup is where the whole country kind of stops and watches. We know what we can accomplish and what we can do as a team.
Welcome into halftime presented by Centura Health. It's 1-1 between Colorado Springs and Sacramento through 45. It is the third playoff game we are seeing so far this weekend here in the USL Championship playoffs, brought to you by Hisense. The first came last night between San Antonio and Oakland. San Antonio took that one 3-0. Switchbacks and Republic fighting for the right to take on San Antonio next Sunday. As we take a look at last night's highlights, really, Ricky, there wasn't much to speak of between the 3rd minute and 73rd minute, but you got one right out of the gates 2 minutes in from Sam Adeniran.
And how good has he been for San Antonio FC? He comes in from Seattle Sounders. No one knew what it was going to look like. And how much fire attacking power does Alan Marcina has. But it was all about a question of the rotation, the positioning of the Oakland Roots. Not nearly as good enough. You could just see all over the field. Rito's trying to go out for the counterattack. Danny Barbier's getting pulled apart. But as this ball comes across, you can see what Sam Adeniran wants to do. Wants to get his hips around it and find the far corner. But once again, where's the back line? Too many players stepping up, too many players dropping in, and this is just a touch of class. He creates himself 2 touches out of his body. Patino, top corner, pick that out, Paul Blanchette. You can't do it. And then this one again. Look like they're going to go to the corner, but just look at the movement. Patino feels the body control and then finds the back of the net, and they go to win 3-0.
And here's a look at the Eastern Conference bracket. Memphis and Tampa Bay won't play now until tomorrow because Mother Nature had other ideas. Louisville and Pittsburgh are in the 64th minute at the moment. And we have some highlights to show you from that game because Pittsburgh on the road is currently up 2-0.
And again, it's Russell Cicerone. How good has he been for the Riverhounds and what he's meant to Bob Lilly's side? Good ball in from Robbie Merton. It's a movement, and the right-sided outside back, Manny Perez, nowhere to be found. Clean first touch, and this is textbook stuff. Up, back, and through. Dequa, Forbes, clinical finish once again from Cicerone. 2-0 at Lynn Family for the Bob Lilly boys. And hey, once they go up, it's going to be very difficult for Lou City to claw back into that match.
Well, we've still got plenty of time in hours here between the Switchbacks and Republic. Louisville is running out of time. They've got 25 minutes to find 2 goals to force something extra. We're back in just a few moments as the Widener halftime show continues.
Goes topics. I mean, yeah, let's talk about today we're gonna go topics.
Roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to Sirius XM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on Sirius XM.
What? This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it. What?
Climb and conquer, that is the goal right now for the Switchbacks as they try to punch their first ever ticket into a Western Conference final. Sacramento hasn't been there since 2014 in their own right. It's going to be a tight second half, but before we get to it, some news and notes from around USL Championship here in the playoffs presented by Hisense. You've got a lot going on still, even though we're coming down to the end of this season. We welcome Milwaukee in 2025. We welcome Knoxville to League One. We have a new stadium for Memphis in 2025. The news does not stop in this league, Ricky.
And that's what you want. You want the game of football, the game of soccer, just to keep on growing. And the USL Championship is doing a fantastic job. We welcome, obviously, Knoxville, Milwaukee, and Memphis as well, a new home for Memphis. And it's just going to do such good for the growth of the game in the country.
Yeah, Knoxville will have that rivalry already geographically with the Chattanooga Red Wolves, who will now play for the title next Sunday night in USL League One. So kudos to them. They punched the first ticket. Tormenta and Greenville playing right now in the other semifinal in USL League One. Again, that final is next Sunday, and then the USL Championship final is the Sunday after that on November the 13th, 8:30 Eastern on ESPN2. It was terrific last year. Orange County stunned almost everyone and beat the Tampa Bay Rowdies in the final. This year, will we have something similar, a similar upset? Might have Louisville on the outs right now in the Eastern Conference with only 20 minutes to go, down 2 still against the Riverhounds. And we've got more to come here between the Switchbacks and Republic.
21, we are Southern Colorado, and we love our beautiful fall weather. We look forward to the leaves changing, but we start to think about snow in the mountains for some skiing. We always have to keep our eye out for those fall blizzards. Remember 97? I'm Fox 21 Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Matt Meister, and I want to give you our commitment. We're not here to scare. We don't use gimmicks. We're here to help you prepare. We provide useful information you need in a way that respects your time and intelligence. The Fox 21 Storm Team, weather without the hype. It's different on TV when we have to cover 40% of the state in 2 or 3 minutes. On the weather app, we can focus on your neighborhood. So northern El Paso County, the story may be driving up to Denver and the travel conditions. The Tri-Lakes, we may be talking about the likelihood of getting more than 6 inches of snow. West side of El Paso County and Colorado Springs in the foothills, maybe it's a tough forecast. There's a gradient of snow. Woodland Park, we might be talking about the likelihood of getting more than a foot of snow. In contrast, the downslope of Pikes Peak in downtown Colorado Springs, maybe the story is, are we going to get 2 inches or 4 inches of snow? And farther to the south, lower elevation in Pueblo, it might be a wind story or the likelihood of getting any snow at all. And then heading south into the wet mountains, more terrain, we might be talking about a lot of snow. The point being, in the weather app, it's information for where you are. So scan the QR code, download the app. We may have 20 or 30 different videos up on the app, and you might see the 1 or 2 that are applicable to you. It's better than the default app on your phone because it's from the Fox 21 Storm Team here in Southern Colorado. The hourly forecast, 10-day forecast, Stormcast, it's all at your fingertips when you need it. And when we need to come knock on your door and tell you there's something important for you, it's right there. Download the Fox 21 Storm Team weather app today.
Tonight's honorary healthcare professional of the match is Bill Luke, Director of Operations and New Development. Thank you for all you've done to help our community. The healthcare professional of the match is co-sponsored by Encore Electric, along with Olson Plumbing and Heating. And we take a look now at highlights from half number 1 between the Switchbacks and Republic. It was very sloppy, to say the least, early on, Ricky, but we were still rewarded with 2 goals, 1 each.
And they're very well taken goals. Is he offside? Is he not offside? But you have to play to the whistle. You can see Edwards has his hands up in rotation. It's Echeverria playing as his second center back all over. But you give the time and luxury for Raul Lopez to pick this thing out of the air. And has the audacity, as you see Jeff Caldwell about 12 yards out, to go up and over underneath that crossbar. And who else? What has he meant to Sacramento Republic? He's been terrific. But then Colorado Springs, if you're Brandon Burke, you have to be extremely pleased about the response. You started to play your style of play, and that is just breaking through lines, passing centrally, getting this man on the ball a bit more in those dangerous situations. But he wasn't really the Michi Galini that we expected to see. The one that we've come to see in this 2023 or 2022 season. This is the best patch to play. Look at the run from Amo that pulls out Gert, and that gives the little bit of window for Galina to peel out to his left-hand side. Zandy, where he wants in the pockets, where he's so dangerous to vision, the technical ability to get this ball in the half turn. And then, yes, he takes a little deflection that throws off Vitiello, but he won't care. Michi Galina, you need your big-time players to stand up in big-time games. And what about getting that goal? And we weren't done going right into the halftime. Again, it's Michi Galina testing the shape, getting in behind Connor Donovan. Vitiello's caught in no man's land, and that's last-ditch defending efforts. The understanding, as my goalkeeper is pulled off, Dan Casey comes back and denies Michi Galina a brace on the first half.
1 shot, 1 on target, 1 goal for Sacramento. They don't have much possession either. They didn't really do much in that first half. On the one hand, you've got to be happy to be 1-1. But on the other hand, you've got a lot of work to do in this second half if you're Republic.
And most of the first half was just Sacramento sitting deep, trying to clog and frustrate Colorado Springs. But it's very interesting. We asked Mark Briggs on our call earlier this week. He said, look, a key for us is to retain the ball, retain possession, take the sting out of the atmosphere, be confident in that we can move the ball from left to right. So what does he say at halftime to get his boys out of the shell? LaGrassa, Felipe, Gur, Vidier, the players that are going to be in the middle of the field, Lopez and Ketko, on the ball a bit more. And if you're Colorado Springs, you're having a lot of success playing off the shoulders of LaGrassa and Felipe with Zandy, Galina coming around the corners. Enriquez was very good as well. But get Amo on the ball a bit more. It's going to be very interesting this next 45 minutes. Your season's on the line. Who's going to show out? Who's going to press up? And who's going to have the individual piece of brilliance when your season's on the line?
Well, these fans, on a night where the temperatures have dipped below 50 degrees, they've done whatever they've had to do to keep warm, whether it's dancing, whether it's throwing on the mittens and the caps. They want the Colorado Springs Switchbacks attack to heat things up here in this second half. Halftime almost came at a bad time for the Switchbacks. They were finally finding that rhythm and dominating in the closing moments before halftime. Halftime could not have come at a better time for Sacramento as they were waning in the dying moments of that half. It's Sacramento from right to left in the white. Colorado Springs from left to right in the black here as we are ready to begin half number 2. Sergei Damianchuk is just about set to get things going. No reported subs from either side. The 11 who started on both sides, the 11 who begin here in this second half. 45 more minutes at least to determine who the second participant will be in next week's Western Conference Final. San Antonio will host. Will it be the Switchbacks or Republic going down to Texas? Enriquez pokes it through. Galena caught between the feet. Thought he might have gotten that call from Demianchuk. He sprinted into the spot, whistle in the mouth, but on the approach, swallowed it and thought better of it. Now we'll stop it for the injured player. Is that a free kick for you, Ricky? Spoken by an attacking player, so I know we are probably going to lean on this one.
At first look, it does look like Galena gets his legs swept off underneath him. But again, if you're Brendan Burke, those are the situations where you want Enriquez and Galena playing off of each other. As Enriquez plays his ball centrally, he continues his run, and he's looking for a bit of a back heel from Galena. Good signs if you're Colorado Springs that man is up on his body. We'll take a look at it here. Very interesting. I mean, there's not that much contact from Connor Donovan. He's trying to sell it. So second look, I don't think it's a foul, Joe.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
You know, I thought
honestly, it's the best policy.
I thought
right?
you'd no doubt go with it. Now here's Galena again trying to burst through, and it's back to Vitiello. It's interesting. I get to work with so many players of different positions. When I'm with you, I've got the attacker's mindset where you want that as a foul. When I'm with Gary Bailey, you get the goalkeeper's mindset. With Devin Curry, you get the center back's mindset. And you all say a different answer when it comes to a play like that.
No, that's not a foul. That's 100% not a foul.
I'm glad you went with the correct answer.
There you go.
And not the striker's answer. But it's right back to the way things were at the end of the first half. Switchbacks in total control on the front foot. Possessions at 68%. Not at all what Mark Briggs had in mind for Sacramento coming on the road here. Zandy goes end line, pops it toward the back post, headed away by Gurr. Enriquez. Reminder of the 2 yellow cards we had in the first half, should those players be calling the question here. Jack Gurr and Matt LaGrassa on the Sacramento side, and a clean slate for Colorado Springs.
Now you see Colorado Springs having that high press, trying to frustrate, make life extremely difficult for Sacramento to play. That's when you need a physical number 9 to be that target man to play off of. Malik Foster, yes, he's very good at occupying the back lines. But he's going to see more of that. You want him to play off the shoulder, to run in behind with the pace that he possesses. So you have to have, whether it's Gurr to stay wide, Villarreal to stay wide, to open up gaps for Keko, for Lopez to drop in and to play between lines to relieve some of the pressure that Colorado Springs is going to put on you in the second half.
Whatever. Let's get it going, buddy. Let's go.
Yeah, you know, the very late stages now between Louisville and Pittsburgh. About 10 minutes remaining there. It is still a 2-0 lead for the Riverhounds. I'm sure Louisville would love to do to Pittsburgh what was done to them last year. They were up 2-0 on the road against Tampa Bay in the Eastern Conference Final. Allowed 2 goals in the last 10 minutes and then lost it in extra time. They have to reproduce that, but on the scoring end to have any chance now. Sent in toward Foster, headed away by Edwards. And it's out for a throw. And then over in USL League One, still in stoppage time now. Tormenta 1, Greenville Triumph nothing. Could have 2 road upsets there. Chattanooga Red Wolves already into next Sunday's title game on ESPN2. And Tormenta seem to be on their way as well. And a free kick now in a dangerous spot for Sacramento. First time we are seeing Sacramento with an opportunity here on a set piece, and that is what Brendan Burke said would be the undoing, if there was an undoing for Colorado Springs on their quest for a title. Defensive set pieces.
And it's a silly decision there from Amo. When you have a striker so deep, forced to do their defensive duties. Roro Lopez, the experience that he has, feels any sort of contact, he's always going to go down. Very dangerous set piece Gonna try to treat it like a corner for Sacramento and defensively for Colorado Springs. Ruro has a quality to whip this ball in with a lot of pace and test Jeff Caldwell in his positioning.
It's been their undoing this year. Brendan Burke, the first to admit that. First time they've been called into question here, defending a set piece. Sacramento with just one shot in the match. It was the goal. Scored by Lopez, who now delivers to LaGrassa. He shook free, but he headed it wide.
And he knows he should do better. The quality that he has, he's going to want this one back. On the other side of this, if you're Echeverria, you can't be beaten so easily. Good ball in from Ruro. Lopez, LaGrassa, 8 yards out. That needs to be on target. That needs to find the back of the net.
LaGrassa, the author of the goal of the week in the final week of the regular season. His thunderbolt of a volley from distance against San Diego in that 4-0 drubbing. Lopez, after the giveaway, slips it through. Here's Gurr. Jack Gurr centers it. Felipe was lurking. Cleared by Anderson. This is better from Sacramento in the last few minutes. Some sustained pressure in the attacking third, and they win it right back at midfield. LaGrassa. Foster. And Gurr. Gurr plays it in. Attempt to settle. Unsuccessful by Damia Villader. Very high up the field for Villader. And all the way to the top of the formation, almost as a 9.
But it's been very interesting, Joe. You would come into this game, you would expect Sacramento to be on the ball a bit more and Colorado Springs to be the one to play direct. But it's been flip-flopped. It's been Colorado Springs being on the ball, Sacramento playing direct.
Louisville has pulled one back against Pittsburgh in the Eastern Conference with a few minutes remaining. Our last glance there in the 85th. Keep you updated on the happenings there as well. Goal officially in the 83rd minute. Scramble in front, and Perez was able to tap it home for Louisville. Well, the dream is still alive, doing to Pittsburgh what was done to them by Tampa Bay last year. Not done yet. Lacroix feathers it along for Villader, who lost it. Enriquez, Echeverria, taken back by Lacroix, but gives it away on the heavy touch. Foster has a chance here. Malik Foster closing in. Foster goes down. And the challenge clean as a whistle. Out for a corner.
And it was always going to be a test for the Switchbacks in terms of pace in that back line. Foster's always going to stretch. Good ball in. But look at the recovery run here from Mahoney. Has to time this tackle to perfection, and he gets it all right. I think if you're Malik Foster, you have to be able to pull the trigger right there. Takes too long. You're riding into this challenge, and you're looking for the contact. Good no call there from the referee, but perfection in terms of 1v1 defending there from Mahoney.
McDevitt Law Firm corner kick. We are in your corner. Gurr. Luis Felipe saved by Caldwell. Right off the line. I don't think he saw that through the traffic. Luis Felipe didn't get much on it, but he almost got enough on it. This is drastically different from Sacramento over the last 5 minutes. All started with that free kick conceded by Amo down in the corner. Had the LaGrassa chance, and they've been alive ever since. Roro Lopez now drifting out toward the left wing. Centers the ball to Foster. LaGrassa's there as well. Nobody could put it home. Pardon me, that was Jack Gurr crashing at the back post. Misplay now by Donovan. Louisville has just tied it in the Eastern Conference. Now Kecko chasing here in the West. All things happening right now in USL Championship. Anderson keeps it alive after the mistouch. And out for a corner. Corner kick brought to you by T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence. End to end now between the Switchbacks and Republic. Take you back down the other end of the field here.
And we talked to Brendan Burke. You keep mentioning it, Joe. Set pieces defensively. Where's the marking? Luis Felipe out jumps everyone. 6 yards down. It's a heck of a save there from Jeff Caldwell. Down to his right-hand side. Didn't see it, sees it late. Massive performance, massive save from that man right there to keep this thing 1-1.
86-minute 2-2, Louisville and Pittsburgh. 56-minute 1-1 between Colorado Springs and Sacramento. With Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you along tonight on ESPN+. Western Conference semifinal. Crowd at this end, all on their feet. Enriquez off the set play. Swing and a miss. It sat there perfectly for Mahoney. Now Galena. Mahoney would like that one back. Tristan Hodge keeps it alive. Hodge picks out the run to the end line in front. Too far out ahead of Elvis Alo, who would have had a tap in. If we have this pace the rest of the way, I would be stunned if we're 1-1 after 90 minutes.
But this is what you expect coming into this game. The quality that is on display here tonight.
Malik Foster finds it. Caldwell all the way out for it. Foster again trying it right to Caldwell. I mean, at some point, Caldwell and Vidiello have to get together and start a travel agency. It's adventure after adventure from the keepers. Sometimes to the detriment of their own team.
But I'll go a step further, Joe, saying that Malik Foster's causing all sorts of problems, just running in behind. It's not good enough in terms of covering for each other, combination, communication. Mahoney and Edwards, too many times one player stepping, one player dropping, and it's putting a lot of stress on Jeff Caldwell to make decisions just like that. And that's a very risky game if you're going to play, if you're the Switchbacks.
Zandy, brilliant turn from Zandy, has some help. Still Zandy.
I think he's caught between two minds there. As he sees this real estate, it's a good run from Amo. As he breaks to the right-hand side, Zandy hesitates. And when that window closes, he understands he has to go by himself. We're good defending once again, collectively for Sacramento Republic to deny Zach Zandy any sort of opportunity to test Danny Vidiello.
This is maybe a good moment for both teams here. Just catch your breath, settle things down. It has been end-to-end, probably more open than either of these teams would like it over the last 10 minutes. Well, we have a break in the action. We've got 2 goals to catch up on between Louisville and Pittsburgh, which is now 2-2 going into the last couple of moments of the game. Pittsburgh, remember, was leading 2-0. This came in the 82nd minute. Perez started it with the header in. Winder was denied by Jamali Waite. And then Perez picked up the loose change. That makes it 2-1 in the 83rd. And then 2 minutes later, Louisville continued the pressure, continued on their way. That was called to put Louisville at the spot. And then who else? Cam Lancaster coming into the game, had a knock, couldn't start, but was available off the bench, comes in, does that. And it seems like we might be on our way to extra time between Louisville and Pittsburgh.
Just cold-blooded through and through. The quality, the reason why he's had the success that he's had in the USL Championship. Obviously, he gotten pushed back due to injury this season and never really got into the form that he would like. But hey, to go up at that moment in time and stick that penalty to that far post, terrific stuff from Cameron Lancaster.
Zandy howling off the field. It was after this challenge here by Casey. holding his right elbow as soon as he went down. And that is what the trainer is working on off to the side.
Just falls a bit awkwardly on that. And there's no ill will there from Van Casey that takes him down. Just as he tries to catch himself. Hopefully he's okay to keep on going for the switchbacks. Such a big part of what they do in the attacking phase of the game.
Hour gone, half hour to go at least here from Widener Field. Could have extra time looming and penalties beyond that if need be to decide a winner between Colorado Springs Switchbacks and Sacramento Republic. San Antonio waits. They will host next Sunday in the Western Conference Final. Alongside Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us tonight on ESPN+. We'll see if our last half hour is as wild as what we've seen between Pittsburgh and Louisville in the Eastern Conference. Slip through here for Keko. Felipe cuts it back to Lopez. The run comes from Keko. Lopez did well to spot it. Unable to link up.
I think it sets up a bit better for the switchbacks if Amos playing centrally and leave the freedom for Miji Galina to go on the left side or right side as he drifts around, tries to find the ball. Have Amo be that target, quote unquote, number 9. He's able to spin in, but just a focal point to play off of to bring players in physically a lot taller than Michi. I think if you're Brendan Burke, you're going to want him to stay centrally and Michi off to the side.
Hodge wins it. Keko pressures. That might have come back off of Hodge. Keko was pleading his case at least. Let's see. Was it just a weird spin on the ball? No, that came off of Hodge, and Keko had a case.
And Sacramento Republic's ball.
Whatever Mark Briggs said to the boys at halftime, hey, it worked last week, it's worked plenty of times in the past in his coaching career. This is much better and looks more like Sacramento Republic football in the first 17 minutes and change here in this second half. It's up to Brendan Burke and Colorado Springs now to find their footing again.
They're just committing more numbers in the attacking phase. So many times in that first half, they'd get into situations like this and it'd only be Malik Foster. Now you have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players are in that final third. But now if you're Colorado Springs and you see this, your first look has to be forward. They're vulnerable. You have Galina, you have Amo, you have Enriquez that have the ability to spin around, get in behind with the real estate that is there. So it's a big emphasis now on Lillian Echeverria. First look needs to be forward when you cause a turnover.
Isaiah Foster comes into the match now for Switchbacks. Substitution brought to you by William J. Hibble Sports Medicine and Performance Center. Learn more at hibblecenter.org. It's Zach Zandy who checks off again. He was injured a few moments ago, unable to continue. In comes Foster.
Come on, let's go!
Enriquez looks ahead to Galina. Galina goes down. Demianchuk thinks about it and calls it. Very late the penalty. He had a word with his assistant referee. They exchanged glances, and the verdict is penalty for the Switchbacks. A lot to think about here. A, is it a foul? B, is it in the box? And after they talked it over briefly, it's a penalty for the home side.
And I just talk about your first look needs to be forward. First of all, that foul's outside the box. It is a foul in my eyes, as Galina gets a better body position of Dan Casey. But it's clearly, the contact is made right there, about 20 yards outside the box. There's no way he should be pointing to the spot there. It's never a PK, it is a foul. It should be a yellow card. but never in a million years. And Roro needs to be extremely careful getting that touchy with the referee.
I think it's more Demyanchuk getting touchy with Lopez, who's trying to keep his distance, but Demyanchuk keeps going after it. And he's going to have a lot of questions to answer here, Demyanchuk. It's a mess created by himself, to be fair, but it's a mess he now has to clean up. So the confirmed yellows we have before the penalty is taken. First to Dan Casey. Let's see if there's any more. Elvis Amo is the one positioning the ball at the spot. Sergei Demyanchuk is going over now for a chat again with his assistant referee. His assistant referee is asking for a card to be given. I believe it was Douglas Martinez who picked up a yellow card over among the substitutes. So keep that in mind. If Martinez does sub in, he'll sub in with a yellow card. Take one more look at what led to this whole mess.
There's just so much to unpack there. You can see Dan Casey, as he lunges for the ball, he misses it completely. Michi Galini gets a better body position. So the question has to be, Joe, is he the last man as well? He points to the spot. No, it's not inside the 18-yard box. It's clear as day, about 20 yards out. It should be a free kick. But then the whole different question that has to be asked, should Dan Casey still be on the field? But again, I just got done talking about it. You force a turnover, your first look has to be forward. Play to the feet into Enriquez, and then you have Michi Galina play off the wing. Amo drops in, creates a confusion for the Sacramento Republic back line in rotation, and now you're sitting nicely at a kick from the spot.
Elvis Amo has converted his last 5 penalties in USL Championship going back to the 2020 season. Danny Vitiello has some experience facing penalties this year in US Open Cup. He has a knack for stopping them. In the 68th minute, we have a pivotal moment for both the Switchbacks and Republic. 1-1 for now. Amo stares down Vitiello from 12 yards away. The approach, the fake, and it's saved by Vitiello! After all that, it's still 1-1 at Widener Field.
And it's such a hard technique to perfect. This little stutter step right there, slow run up to force the hand of the goalkeeper. And how many times have we seen this, Joe? Whether it's in the Open Cup, whether it's in the Sacramento Republic, just season, Vitiello standing on his head.
Amo again, a chance here, saved again by Vitiello. Flag came up late, but he kept it out anyway. For everything that the first half lacked, it had 2 goals, one aside. This second half has made up for it.
And just massive, just stay his ground, not give an angle. The way that he reads Amo as a goalkeeper, that's one of the hardest PKs to one time, and let alone guess right and make a massive save. I said it once, I'll say it again, Joe. You need your big-time players to stand up in big-time games. And dear Lord, has Vitiello done just that?
Now what? I mean, you've had the momentum go back and forth. You had a very questionable penalty call that ended up meaning nothing because of Vitiello's save. These next 5 minutes are crucial for both teams. Who can calm things down, prevail with cooler heads, and maybe take control of this game?
And now it's not a test physically. Yes, it is. Obviously, you're approaching the 70th minute mark, but mentally as well. There's going to be a lot of adrenaline, a lot of drawing antics that go off the ball, off the field. So who's going to be able to stay locked in mentally and just stick to the game plan? Let their football do all the talking at this point in time.
Danny Vitiello has faced 12 penalties in his professional career between USL Championship and US Open Cup. That was his 13th, so now he's faced 13. Ricky, he's saved 6 of the 13.
Incredible.
That's almost 50%. And that's something to memory bank as well in case we have penalties later tonight. Speaking of, we have extra time between Louisville and Pittsburgh. They've officially gone to extra time now at 2-2 after Louisville scored twice in the final 10 minutes to force extra time. That ball deflects and stays out for a throw-in instead of out for a goal kick. This game is so cyclical. One day you're up top, one day you're on the bottom. Last year, Eastern Conference Final, Louisville a 2-goal lead into the final 10 minutes on the road against Tampa Bay, lost it in extra time. This year, down 2-0 going into the final 10 minutes, and they force the extra time. And we got a change here on the Sacramento side. Malik Foster is done for the night. In comes Luther Archimed, brought to you by the Hill Sports Medicine Performance Center.
Now this is going to give Republic just a different look. Target man as the focal point on that front line for Mark Briggs, so that's going to pull in a lot of activity for Roro Lopez and Keko to play underneath him, to be that creativity, and he's going to occupy. He's not going to run behind as much as Malik Foster. So if you're Colorado Springs, yes, you're going to be touch tight with him. Don't let him turn you, but it's a big emphasis once again on Echeverria and Lilly to do their defensive duties. When that ball goes by you, your job's not done. You have to look at the secondary movement and that rotation to have that secondary defender to deny the combination play for Sacramento.
Caldwell. And while it's still recent that we've given Vidiello the praise for his penalty save, again, if we need penalties tonight, mentioned 6 saves of the 13 faced by Vidiello, 9 saves in the 20 faced by Jeff Caldwell. They're both right there almost at 50%.
Two of the best in the business.
We could have a very interesting penalty shootout if it comes down to that tonight. And we've still got 50 minutes of play. Before then, slipped through here by Enriquez, looking for Foster. Isaiah Foster, the 19-year-old, signed his pro deal back in early spring after time at Bethesda Soccer Club. Made 16 starts this season with a goal. Came in for the injured Zandy. And now it's Lindley who's down holding his head.
This injury stoppage is brought to you by Centura.
Injury stoppage brought to you by Centura Health.
Fans, coach looks great tonight thanks to gentlemen's choice tuxedos.
These are never fun. Get blindsided via dare, trying to switch the point of attack and just catches you. Right in the side of the face. You lose Zach Zandy, and Lindley goes down now.
A yellow card has been issued.
Does in the depth now with Brandon Burke's roster.
And the depth has been tested this year. They've had so many injuries that have impacted their season. In a way, it turned out to be a blessing because it forced them to look at other players. They had the luxury then down the stretch of the season after the big win against El Paso. They knew they were going to host a playoff game. They were able to coast in the final few games. New Mexico, for example, in their final regular season game, Colorado Springs was able to pre-plan subs. Brendan Burke called it a glorified training session. They were able to work on some of the little things in the possession and the rotations, pre-plan the subs, pre-plan the minutes for the players. And that was advantageous considering some of their injury issues, some of the heavy legs down the stretch of the season. It's Lindley going through the concussion test here. Roro Lopez rallying everybody here while they have a moment. I don't know that there's a better leader around all of USL Championship to have in a situation like this than Roro Lopez. Lopez the first one over to make sure Lindley's okay as he is escorted off the field here. Quarter of an hour remains, and it's still 1-1 because of this. Nishi Galina was fouled, we think, outside the area. We're pretty sure outside the area. It was called a penalty after Sergei Demyanchuk had a word with his assistant referee. All comes out on the wash in the end because Vidiello made the stop.
Again, once you perfect this type of PK, you're going to score more goals than you ever imagined. But if you're unable to do it, it plays into the hands of the goalkeeper. Vidiello sees it the whole way. It's not a well-taken PK. He forces Vidiello to stay his ground, and that's a textbook goalkeeping. Massive performance from Vidiello to keep this game 1-1.
Jack Gurr sends the ball in, a free release through the middle for Dami Villader. And he's going to think about that one for a little while from the turf.
He needs the wing backs. It's Gurr to Villader. They've just been so good to give the Sacramento Republic just a whole different look. As this ball comes out, you can see Villader understands, I'm going to make this near post, this late post run. But again, where's the communication? Where's the covering for each other? A peach of a ball in from Gurr, and Villader, he should do better from that. 7 yards out, the ball comes out to his preferred left foot. Doesn't need to hit it hard, just tries to redirect it. What an opportunity once again that goes to the wayside for Sacramento. But it needs to be better in terms of communication between Mahoney, Edwards, and Anderson. It's Echeverria dropping back as another center back. It's a very risky game once again for Colorado Springs to be playing, to give that real estate in their 18-yard box to the Sacramento side.
I said it at about the 60-minute mark. I'll stand by it. Even though it's getting closer to the end, I will still be incredibly surprised if this is 1-1 at 90. With all the chances we've seen, I can't believe this game is still 1-1, including the penalty. You throw that in there.
It's woken up in the second half. Everything what we expected in the first half. A quality that's on display, the quality that these two teams is the reason why they had the seasons that they did. Third and fourth in the Western Conference, going head to head. This is so good. This is what you want as a fan, as a coach, as a player. You want to play in these types of games and just be involved here.
Lacroix a bit slow with it. Lost it to Lindley. Now Galena. Still Mishi Galena. Slip through here to Anderson. Sebastian Anderson cuts it back. Jairo Enriquez trying to find it. And Luis Felipe is able to clear. Archimed call for the foul as he came in on Michael Edwards.
And it's a good bit of interchange here from Enriquez. How sneaky of a ball is this? As Anderson goes to the byline, it's that cutback ball I keep talking about. But if Enriquez hits that first time, he has such more of a better angle. But give credit to Keko. Realizes the danger comes across and puts out the fire for Enriquez.
Aaron Wheeler comes in for Elvis Amo. It's a sub we've seen very frequently here. One for the other. For the Switchbacks, brought to you by the Hibble Sports Medicine and Performance Center. And this changes a lot for the Switchbacks. Two very different players. It's not quite like for like. They will occupy the same position, but in such different ways. Wheeler scored 2 last week to put RGV to bed. Long throw into Wheeler. Brendan Burke spoke at length about the differences between Amo and Wheeler. Wheeler just brings a completely different dynamic to the game, the way he's able to hold up the play and let the likes of Galena and Zandy, who subbed off injured, of course, in perfect circumstances, those two shooting off of Wheeler, just such a different dynamic than what Amo brings to the table.
And it's going to be very interesting as the Switchbacks, they go to a 3-back. In terms of picking up runners, that we're going to see Galena, that we're going to see Enriquez, and now Foster.
Galena to the back post. Foster was there. And it is out for a goal kick.
So once again, like I mentioned, the responsibility of Lily Echeverria in the center midfield for Colorado Springs. It's the same thing for Felipe and LaGraza. Wheeler's going to stay, occupy this back 3 of Republic, and that's going to have a lot of real estate in and around him. We see how clinical he is, so if he has any look at goal, he doesn't need a second invitation to pull the trigger.
The yellow was warned for time wasting in the first half. I don't know that you want to be wasting it right now. It is 1-1 with 10 minutes to play. That's unless you think Sacramento wants extra time. Maybe they do. And bear in mind, it might be a lofty stoppage time number. We had the injury to Zandy. We had the whole aftermath of the penalty situation. Here's Galena. They want to end it at 90. Galena takes it himself. He had Wheeler alone for a tap-in. That's one upon film review. He probably should have passed across.
And he makes a wrong decision. But you just see how different the Switchbacks look with Wheeler. Defensively, not good enough for Sacramento Republic, but as Galena breaks out on this right-hand side, we just play this ball across. It's 2-1. Wheeler has an easy tap, and just him and Vidiello. Like you said, Joe, they're going to look win this one back. Michi Galena is going to wish he did different.
Such a calm kid, and he is still a kid, 22 years of age, but 4 years as a pro. For him, it's just on to the next one. He'll have a moment like that. We've seen him have moments like that. And then a minute or two later, he'll put one top bins from 30 yards out. Again toward Wheeler. Vidiello hustles off the line, just barely gets there ahead of Wheeler and was fouled in the process.
As Donovan steps off his line, it's a 1v1. And Galena, it's very difficult for a center back here if you're Dan Casey. If Galena keeps pushing the envelope, he has to make a decision. Does he go with Galena? Does he stay centrally? He kind of gets caught in no man's land, and Galena forces his hand a bit too early. If you take him down deeper, cut back, 2-1, Colorado Springs to the corner to celebrate.
Well, here's an interesting one. So on the field, we have 3 yellow cards right now. Dan Casey, Jack Gurr, Matt LaGrassa. Make it 4. Douglas Martinez picked one up down in the corner, arguing the penalty call against Sacramento. So he has a yellow coming onto the field. So they go from 3 yellow cards on the field to 4 for Sacramento. So often we see a coach try to take a yellow card off the field. And here you have Mark Briggs bringing a yellow card onto the field. But it's Keko who gives way. Still a clean bill on the other side, by the way, for Colorado Springs. No card shown to a Switchbacks player. Not yet, at least. Lopez. Archimed flag stayed down despite the protest from Colorado Springs. Pass picked out to Casey. First attempt at Douglas Martinez, who they brought in this year, Sacramento, to be the 9, to be the go-to guy, the scorer up top. He's done it before in this league. Didn't quite play out that way. And Malik Foster picked up the slack as the year went along. Here's Enriquez in an advanced position again. Lost one up in the air. And Gurr heads it clear. Only as far as Lindley. Now Foster. A glance at the flag, it stays down. And a corner coming for Colorado Springs, brought to you by Pepsi. That's what I like.
And the Switchbacks have so much success just playing centrally, playing vertical and breaking lines. This time it's a little give and go between Enriquez and Lindley, comes back across. But once again, Sacramento able to get in their defensive positioning and cut out that last final play for the Switchbacks.
7 to go of the 90. Lindley hesitates. And now sends it in. Cleared away by Martinez, a player you're familiar with, Ricky. Scored 17 goals in 2019 for Real Monarchs, on the way to the USL Championship title. 25 goals as a professional in his career, but 17 of them came that year. Galena goes end line, and it's out for a goal kick. So it hasn't quite been the same for Martinez since that terrific 2019 season.
And earned him a first-team contract as well with Real Salt Lake. But he's just another player that you get him on the right day, you get him confident, you get him in the right mindset. He's a complete game changer, the ability to beat you on the dribble, clinical. And there's a reason why Mark Briggs has him at the Monarchs and then brings him here at Sacramento Republic. He believes in him. That is his guy. In terms of productivity, hasn't been the best in terms of Martinez, 5 goals, 3 assists on the year. But make no mistake about it, the quality is there for Douglas.
Archimed taken down. One of the big moments of the season so far, or the year I should say, since it didn't happen in the USL Championship season, for Douglas Martinez was the assist he had on the Rodrigo Lopez goal on the road against LA Galaxy in the US Open Cup quarterfinal. So he's come up big in some big spots. Again, the raw numbers maybe not there Only the 5 goals and 3 assists you mentioned. And that's the type of player who can wake a game like this up late or into extra time with the fresh legs. Have to figure we're about 10 minutes away from needing an extra half an hour. 5 minutes of the 90, and again, with the injury to Zandy and everything that happened after the penalty call, have to figure we've got at least 5 minutes of stoppage time, if not more. So still plenty of time for the scoreline to change before the extra half hour is needed. Currently in the extra half hour in the Eastern Conference between Louisville and Pittsburgh, tied up at 2. Caldwell has to go out and get this one. Mahoney on the turn, back to Caldwell. Pressure closing in from Sacramento. They forced 2 turnovers that led to goals on plays like that in the regular season finale against San Diego, which they won 4-0. Don't know if that was more of a San Diego problem or a Sacramento effort, because San Diego did the same thing in the playoff game last week against Oakland, but Sacramento did force 2 plays like that. And they've come close tonight a couple of times. They haven't pressed every chance they've had, but when they've pressed, they've done so well and won the ball back.
And it's just clear triggers from Mark Briggs saying, as this ball comes out to this left side, we're going to shape the ball and force him to play back to Caldwell. So that tells me that Mark Briggs does not fancy Jeff Caldwell so much with the ball at his feet. They take out the midfield players, go like for like with Zandy, with Echeverria, and force Caldwell to pick out a pass.
Plenty of space out there for Gurr, but he is offside. Flabbergasted by the decision. He thought he timed it well. Looked to be offside by a couple of steps. Tried to tiptoe that line, but a late step forward by Michael Edwards might have kept him offside. 3 to go of the 90. We've seen Luther Archimed and Douglas Martinez enter the match for Malik Foster and Keko on the Sacramento side. We've seen Isaiah Foster and Aaron Wheeler come in for Elvis Amo and Zach Zandy on the Switchbacks side. And now another change. Cam Lindley's night is done in the middle of the park for the Switchbacks team. In comes Beverly Makangila. Makangila started 17 games this season. Formed a good partnership with Lindley when the opportunity was there. Both of those players missed some time this year. Lindley, not so much time, a couple of games he missed. Makangila picked up the slack in those couple of games. Wheeler drops it back. Here's Foster. Foster looking through to Anderson. Good run from the right wing back. Just beyond his reach at the end. Gives the thumbs up to Foster as he jogs his way back down the field.
And it's pattern play to perfection for Brendan Burke's boys. As Wheeler comes in, you see the eye contact between him and Mahoney. And it's a peach of a ball, just bending this ball into the feet of Anderson, but it's at an awkward length. He's unable to hit it first time, unable to bring it down. But just moves like that to pull players out of position and then going behind the Switchbacks has been so lethal for them.
He was the 11th Colorado Rapids Academy product to sign his homegrown deal. He was 16 years, 238 days old at the time. Almost 4 years ago now. Lopez cuts it back underneath Echeverria. Luis Felipe. Now Dami Villadere in the 90th minute. Villadere, Felipe chips it through. Archimed could keep it alive. Now Lopez for Gurr. Jack Gurr back out to Rodrigo Lopez. 4 players waiting in the box for Sac Republic. Five minutes tacked down to the end of this one. Stoppage time brought to you by TikTok Shop. LaGrassa. Another lengthy spell of possession here for Sac Republic. Archimed can't find it. Martinez can, and it's cleared by Makangila. Given away by Connor Donovan. Numbers here over the top to Galena. Vitiello reads it well.
Just needs to be a bit cleaner in that final action. You see Wheeler gets in behind. He likes to go to Michi Galena, which is probably, in terms of pace, a smarter opportunity.
Villader takes his space. Villader to Martinez, left for Gurr. Seemed promising. Did not end that way for Sacramento.
Now you start to see one, the decision-making hasn't been the best for either side. As you approach the 90-minute mark, your legs are going to be heavy. Your technique is going to go as well. That's when you have to have that extra bit of focus. As this ball coming onto your foot, your head needs to be down, making sure you get clean contact. If that ball from Gurr is a bit better, there's a lot of traffic going back the other way for Sacramento and crashing Jeff Caldwell's 6-yard box. You see the frustration now on the face of Gurr after he knows he should do better and he could do better.
Would you rather see Martinez take charge of that ball in a case like that, one of your number 9s, or did he do the right thing in letting it go through to Gurr?
Well, that's when you have to read the situation. You have Hodge. If he's close to you, you let it go. If you have this opportunity to get on a bit of space, hit on a half turn, I think in that situation, you let it go, get yourself into a dangerous area, just lacking that execution from Gurr.
3 to play of the 5 that were given. Luis Felipe has a pocket of space. Now LaGrassa. LaGrassa looking long for Archimed. Too long with it. Anderson will escort it out for a goal kick. No, it hit the corner flag. Almost stayed in. Now it is out for a goal kick. All right, I confess, it's looking more and more like there won't be a goal in 90, and I said I'd be surprised if it was 1-1. But there were ample opportunity for both teams as this half went along, including that penalty that was saved back around the 70-minute mark. Elvis Amo was gifted the opportunity. Questionable call by Sergei Demianchuk, not in terms of the foul. It was a foul. Just a matter of whether or not it was in the box. Every look we saw showed it was outside and should have been a free kick. So many chances for both teams in this second half. There were 5 shots for Colorado Springs, 4 shots for Sacramento. And it's not over yet. Here's Martinez. Gurr making the run into the area. Here's Gurr at the end line. And they earned a corner out of it. 90 seconds to play of the 5 minutes that were given, and it's a corner for Sacramento.
Just the effort to get on the end of this from Jack Gurr. A 60-yard sprint in the 94th minute. Just shows you why he's able to play that wing spot position for Mark Briggs, which requires so much fitness to getting in the attack, but also do your defensive duties. But once you get into the attack, to provide the quality that he has.
Defensive set pieces, that's what Brendan Burke pointed to as a weakness that needed to improve for the Switchbacks. It's a defensive set piece here in the last minute. Almost fell for Luis Felipe. Kept alive by Villader. Cuts in, Villader outside of the boot back post. That almost snuck in by itself.
These are always tricky as a goalkeeper. Villader does extremely well outside the left boot. If no one touches that, it always has a chance to squeak into that far post. And lucky enough for Colorado Springs, Jeff Caldwell, Widener Field, no one gets on the end of it. Everyone on their heels watching this ball just aimlessly go past that far post. A sigh of relief.
$95, not enough. We need 30 more at Widener Field. Finishes 1-1 between Sacramento and Colorado Springs. Now you got to regroup and get back out there for another half hour.
And now this is all about character. This is all about who's going to grind, who's going to go in deep and say, I'm here for a reason. I'm going to take the reins. I'm going to produce that individual piece of magic that is going to need to unlock this game. You look at Colorado Springs, what they had. The first half, you're probably the better team. You come out in the next 45 minutes. Yes, you get that PK. Doesn't take it as well as he should. And Sacramento started to get on the ball a bit more. You saw what Mark Briggs said to them at halftime. Really worked, but it's going to be very interesting to see the mindset for both of these organizations for this next 30 minutes. And it's going to be all to play for. Your season's on the line. Who's going to show out when the pressure's on?
Extra time between Colorado Springs and Sacramento. 90 seconds away here on ESPN+.
We've all heard the phrase before, the mountains are calling. Well, these mountains are screaming. That's what gets me out here in the pool every day. They energize me, even when I'm not feeling it. In fact, they energize our whole family. We have done so much more outside in Colorado, hiking, biking, swimming, fishing, skiing, you name it, and we owe it to the mountains. They literally take your breath away.
Watch Scott Kilbury on Fox 21 Local News, weeknights at 5, 6:30, 9, and 10.
Fox 21's Loving Living Local is exploring outdoor Colorado in this fully loaded 4xe Jeep Wrangler, and now is your chance to win big. Snap a pic of yourself enjoying Colorado's outdoors, submit that to fox21news.com, plus tune in to Loving Living Local for special segments highlighting things to do and places to see in our beautiful state. At the end of the year, one lucky winner will receive a gift certificate for a prepaid 2-year lease on a brand new Jeep from Perkins Motors. So, show us how you outdoor Colorado.
Teams are just about set to re-engage here for another half hour. Extra time needed between Colorado Springs and Sacramento Republic. Alongside Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to still have you with us here on ESPN Plus for the Western Conference semifinal in the USL Championship playoffs, brought to you by Hisense. We take a look at how we got here. A goal aside in the first half, somehow got to the second half without a goal for either side despite all the opportunities, and we take you back to the opener in the 17th minute.
And it's very interesting, Joe. You look at these two goals and you say, where's the defense? Where's the rotation? Where's the communication? Is Roror Lopez off? Is he offside? You have to play to the whistle. In terms of Colorado Springs, you're all over the place. Echeverria, who is a center mid, is playing like a center back. Mahoney's too far up. Edwards too far back. The confusion, but this is just terrific playing off of each other. That run from Mo, it's not going to get the recognition that it deserves, but that opens up the gap for Jack Kerr to open up. That forces Dan Casey to rotate over. It's too slow. You see the deflection. Vitiello unable to react, and your special man Michi Galina, who I think clear-cut favorite to be the young player of the year. And this is where the game changed. The play direct, the contact is clearly outside. There's no question about it. But the question is, for me, is Dan Casey able to stay in the field? Does he get a yellow card? Does he get a red card? It's never PK, and Vitiello makes sure of that. Mo, such a hard technique. I keep saying it, hard technique to perfect. But Vitiello sees the whole way. Big-time save from the Sacramento Republic goalkeeper.
We will let you know if there are any changes made here between the end of regulation and the start of extra time. That would not count as a window if either side makes a sub. Same goes for the interval between extra times. That would not count as a window used. Both teams, under the rules of competition this year in the playoffs, get an extra sub and an extra window to use here in extra time. Colorado Springs used 3 subs in 3 windows during regulation. So it would have 3 subs still at their disposal with 1 window. And again, right now would not count between extra times, would not count as windows. Sacramento, on the other hand, they used 2 subs in 2 windows. So if they so choose, they have 4 subs and 2 windows. That's the substitution situation. You've got 4 yellow cards out there on the field for Sacramento. Jack Gerd, Dan Casey, Matt LaGrassa, and Douglas Martinez. No yellows on the Switchback side. It's 1-1 on the scoreboard. And we play for another half hour. Penalties on the other side of that, if necessary. Sacramento will start things off with the ball here in the first extra time period. They attack from left to right in the white. Colorado Springs in the black from right to left. Sacramento, no strangers to being here. 0-0 through 120 against Sporting Kansas City in the U.S. Open Cup semifinal in the summer. Ended up winning on penalties. Neither of these sides have ever made a conference, pardon me, Colorado Springs has not made a Western Conference final in their history since 2015. Sacramento has not made it since 2014 when they won it all. One of those 2 droughts is going to end. San Antonio next Sunday awaits the winner. Colorado Springs was outstanding at home this year. 10-4-3 and a +11 goal differential. Stark contrast to what they did on the road, where they were 7-9-1 with a goal differential of -5. Sacramento had similar splits. They were only 5-9-3 on the road, but 10-2-5 at home. However, they know a thing or two again about winning in knockout football on the road. In the Open Cup, went to LA Galaxy and got the W in the quarterfinal. All the way back to Caldwell. Is that pressure closing in again for Sacramento, but they play out of it, the Switchbacks do. Galena opens up, gets it along to Echeverria, gets it back. Here comes Galena, full head of steam. It's the decision-making in the last third that has plagued both teams at times tonight.
But if you're a Switchback supporter, these are the situations that you want that man to get in behind. You draw in, Lacroix gets way too tight, gets spun like a top. But as he gets to that final third, look at Enriquez, as he's just hanging around about 12 yards out. This ball needs to get cut back to him. The quality that he has, Michi Galina's too good of a player not to see that pass and cut back that ball back. It's 2-1 Colorado Springs, and that execution is better.
Legs start to get heavy, minds start to tire. More often than not, Ricky, I feel like these games are not necessarily won by moments of brilliance, but lost by mistakes when it comes to the extra time.
That's when you have to be locked in mentally as well. Set pieces come so much more important. Throw-ins, free kicks, corner kicks, whatever it is. That's when you need to be able to turn on and say, look, I'm not losing my individual battle. You have to take it personally. But these are the games that you want to play in Western Conference semifinal. Trying to get into that conference final against the best team in USL. Who wouldn't want to play in this game if you're a professional athlete?
Getting closer to penalties between Louisville and Pittsburgh. Got 3 minutes remaining, tied up at 2 goals apiece. Still quite a while before we have to consider that possibility here. But blink and you'll miss it. It'll be here before you know it. Gurgis safely guides it clear. At the end of regulation, official shot tallies read as such: 13-5 in favor of Colorado Springs, and 6-3 in terms of shots on target. A second half that just as easily could have yielded a 2-2 or 3-3 scoreline as it did 1-1. The biggest moment of all, the Vitiello penalty save in the 68th minute, denying Elvis Amo, who had made 5 consecutive penalties in USL Championship dating back to the 2020 season. Here's Michi Galina in alone. Galina, of course! The face of the club, his second goal of the night, and the Switchbacks have a lead in extra time.
Those are the spots where you want Michi Galina in and around that 18-yard box, but once again, it's a positioning of Villader and Lacroix all gets it all wrong. We talk about decision-making in that final third. Great little entry ball in from Echeverria. I thought Michi Galina had a better success in playing this across the Wheeler. He says, I see you, I don't need you. I'll just squeak this in to Vitiello. We look on the second look at that, Mike, think he should do better. Well, Michi Galina once again comes to the rescue. Special players stand up, produce magic, and special games. Getting your brace in this Western Conference semifinal. Hats off, Michi Galina.
12 goals in the regular season. Tacks on another 2 tonight. Think back to the closing moments of regulation. He had that opportunity coming in 2-on-1. Didn't pass it across to a wide open Aaron Wheeler. And right after that, Ricky, you say, look, that's a poised kid. He will regroup. He'll put that out of his mind, and he will still find a way to provide a moment tonight. And that he did. Now it's Sacramento chasing the game, trailing for the first time tonight. Here's Casey. Now Gurr whips it in. Archimed tries to flick it along. Caldwell, miscommunication at the back there. Anderson maybe thought he was doing his goalkeeper a favor by heading it back toward him, but I think Caldwell was ready to just grab it by himself. San Antonio awaits the winner. For the time being, it would be for the first ever time Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC in the conference final.
Now it's in terms of balance for Sacramento Republic, it's going to be a massive challenge. Yes, you want to call it great ball, that is.
Chance to equalize here, just wide. Villader, the left-footed volley. Don't think Sacramento's going to go away quietly.
And once again, it's the ability to play a ball over 50, 60 yards on a dime from Dan Casey. Anderson's getting caught out. Falls extremely nicely. Great look at it here from Villader. The technique to perfection. You just need to let it drop in a bit more. That gives you the better angles to take out that far corner. A player that has the wand of a left foot, Villader, gets himself in a very good position. Just pulls it a bit too wide. We're going back to my point, Joe, talking about the balance from Sacramento Republic. Yes, you want to claw yourself back into this game, but you have to realize, look, we're playing till 120 minutes. You're not going to, don't need to push the button too much and try to draw this game back in the next 5 minutes. You don't want to overcommit and leave yourself vulnerable in the back like this.
Galina ahead. Enriquez now cuts it in front. Foster had a chance. 19-year-old could have made it 3-1. Would have been a difficult finish under pressure, off balance.
But once again, look at this run here from Wheeler, textbook number 9. As he pulls across Dan Casey, that opens up the gap for Foster to make that secondary run. It forces Gert to come back and emergency defend, and Foster gets his body position all wrong. He's leaning back, his balance is off. He's always going to see it go up and over that crossbar.
Lopez, glance over the shoulder, leaves it for Martinez. 10 minutes have come and gone here in the first extra time. 5 to go. To the back post, headed away by Anderson. Galena striking twice tonight. Minute 37, minute 96. Rodrigo Lopez on the ball, now had the opener back in the 18th minute for Sacramento. Over the top here, almost fell for Villadere. Bounded over his head. Villadere puts it in front. Caldwell to Gurr, puts it wide. Nothing on Halloween in a couple of days will give him nightmares the way that miss will.
Once again, Villadere showing off that left peg. Great ball in. Dear Lord, Jacker. This ball finds you 6 yards out. No one in goal. You need to hit it on target. That's all it's asked of you. Maybe he catches him by surprise, unable to get his feet around, his hips around. But once again, he knows that should be a goal, and it should be 2-2 once again.
On that second look at it, the ball kid had the same reaction as Gurr. Hands immediately on the head. Total disbelief all the way around. I was sitting here waiting for the net to ripple. Only thing that the ball made contact with was the advertising board in the end. Louisville and Pittsburgh, by the way, are headed to penalties. Rodrigo Lopez has given all he can give tonight. Scored the goal 18 minutes in, and that is it. In comes Zico Lewis with fresh legs. Here's Villadere. Lacroix. LaGrassa. 3 to play in the first extra time. Nodded down to Martinez. Here's Gurr. Luis Felipe dips the shoulder, end line. Felipe in front. Martinez now to the back post. Didn't quite make it through. Here's Lewis. Colorado Springs right now just begging for the end of this first extra time. Sacramento has responded incredibly well to going down.
And another person that is begging for just any sort of movement is Douglas Martinez, or excuse me, Felipe. Does extremely well to get around Hodge. But as you look at this, there's 3 players in a Sacramento Republic jersey just hanging around at that far post, just on their heels, waiting for the ball. Get yourself into a dangerous situation. You have an easy tap in, and you are the hero, drawing this game 2-2. Once again, it's just that extra effort in terms of movement. A little burst 5 yards to get in that first post situation, to get on the top of that 6-yard box.
Now a free kick on the way for Sacramento. Villadere toward the far post. Casey was there, and it's out for a corner. T-Row Price, invest with confidence, brings you this corner kick. Penalties just beginning right now between Louisville and Pittsburgh. We'll keep you updated as that unfolds in Louisville, Kentucky. Pittsburgh won in the 10th round of penalties against Birmingham in the last round. Here's Gurr from the corner. Defended well by the Switchbacks. Here's LaGrassa. Numbers still committed forward for Sacramento. Casey stuck his head in there. Out for a Sacramento throw. Luis Felipe. Can they pull one on a counter at some point, Colorado Springs? The longer this stays, a 1-goal margin, the tenser it gets as we head into the second extra time. Sacramento already a couple of times over could have equalized here. And there is the whistle. Oh, pardon me. That was a whistle for an offside. Could have been the whistle to end the first extra time, which might be following very shortly here. And there it is. All done with the first 15. We've got 15 more to go. And Michi Galina in the 96th minute has given Colorado Springs the lead.
And now it all comes down to discipline, to balance, and commitment for Sacramento Republic. You have 15 minutes to find an equalizer. But when you're doing that, you don't want to leave yourself extremely vulnerable going back the other way. This man right here, too fleet of foot, can get in behind, can produce magic, is always going to fancy himself in a 1v1 situation. So what does that look like for Mark Briggs? We'll take a look at this goal here. It's a little interchange. No one steps out. It's too pedestrian-like. Lacroix's pushed out way too wide. You can see it's a back three. It looks like a back two. Lacroix on the touchline. Connor Donovan is unable to rotate across. Casey and Michi Galina, once you get in this position, he has two options. Do I play it across the Wheeler or do I go myself? He likes to go to himself. Vidiello gets a piece out of it. Not strong enough hands. And we see the acrobatics from Michi Galina that we've seen so many times this season. But if you're Colorado Springs, now it's all about defense. It's all about commitment in terms of not losing your individual battle. Set pieces is something that Brendan Burke has cemented into the minds of these boys, saying we need to be better. That is going to be our downfall. So now you have 15 minutes where you're going to get a lot of pump balls in from Sacramento Republic. So now win your individual battles, hold on for 15 minutes, and you can count. If you catch the Sacramento side on the counterattack, you're going to be sitting nice and pretty.
And there you see what's going on right now between Louisville and Pittsburgh. At the end of the second round of penalties, Louisville 2, Pittsburgh 1. Well taken from Canardo Forbes.
Just ropes that into the top corner.
Assist king in USL Championship. Doing his best there to finish. Jamali Waite, experienced in penalties. Last week went 10 rounds against Birmingham, made a few big stops. Over in our game here, 2 changes being made by the Switchbacks here. Will not count as a window, so they will have 1 sub remaining and 1 window remaining. That feint that didn't work in this game in the 68th minute for Elvis Amo works for Oscar Jimenez. Louisville takes a 3-1 lead. Have to say goodbye to that 2-box for a moment as we're ready to begin the second extra time here. But we will continue to keep you updated on how that one unfolds. Underway now in the second extra time. Colorado Springs from left to right in the black. Sacramento from right to left in the white. 2 changes during that interval for Colorado Springs. So Jimmy Ockford and Carlton Belmar, the former Sacramento Republic man, coming on for Jairo Enriquez and Tristan Hodge. Very late whistle from Demianchuk, and a yellow card issued to Wheeler.
A yellow card has been issued to Switchbacks player number 21, Aaron Wheeler.
That is the first card shown tonight to anybody on the Switchback side. It's do or die now for Pittsburgh, by the way. Louisville 4 for 4 through 4 rounds. Pittsburgh approaching the spot for their 4th penalty. They've already missed one. They must convert in order to send that one to a 5th round. Remember, Pittsburgh had a 2-0 lead going into the final 10 minutes. Albert Dequaj stepping up to the spot now for the Riverhounds. Has to make it to keep that game going. Danny Fondes in goal for the injured Kyle Morton for Louisville. Dequaj scores, going to a 5th round there. Louisville scores, they win. Played over the top here to Archimed. Flag comes up.
I think a player of your Mark Briggs that you want on the ball with the fresh legs, the ability to play in tight spaces in between lines is going to be Zico Lewis. How good was he when he was at the Charleston Battery? Hasn't come out and had the same productivity for Sacramento Republic. Only 1 goal on the year, but get him involved early and often. He's a player that can combine, can beat you individually. So he needs to be massive for this last couple minutes here for Sacramento Republic.
Carlos Mogul, the teenager, has sent Louisville into the Eastern Conference Final. Played inside here to Lewis. Lewis out wide to Martinez. Douglas Martinez looking back post. Villadare keeps it alive. What does that say about the courage of that teenager? 5th penalty taker for Louisville. Wins it for them. Play on, says Sergei Demianchuk here at Widener Field. 8th trip to the Eastern Conference Final in Lou City history. They do not miss out on the Final Four.
Not only Mogul, talk about character throughout the whole Lou City organization. Be down 2-0, looking like an early exit in terms of playoffs at your home field to claw yourself back into that one. The character, Danny Cruz, what he's done, just terrific. Always going to be the golden standard of the USL Championship, and once again hosting the Eastern Conference Final.
They will wait to find out tomorrow because of Mother Nature whether it'll be Memphis or Tampa Bay. That game was supposed to take place tonight, postponed to tomorrow because of weather. If it is Tampa Bay, it will be the trilogy, which isn't quite a trilogy because Tampa Bay won both of the first 2. Usually you get that trilogy fight if the first 2 are split 1-1. But Tampa Bay got the better of Louisville each of the last 2 years. So will we see that again, or will we see Memphis-Louisville, which, if you paid attention to the Eastern Conference this year, that produced a few spicy meetings with late goals and red cards and a lot of heat. Tampa Bay Louisville's maybe a little sexier because of it being the 3rd year in a row, but while that one's sexier, Memphis Louisville's a lot spicier, and I think that's the way I'd lean if I had a rooting interest as a casual fan wanting to see the best matchup we can in the Eastern Conference Final. But you can't go wrong either way.
Love the descriptions, Joe. Sexy, spicy, all of the above. I'm here for it. Best time to be the USL Championship on the field, covering it as a fan. See the quality through and through.
Free kick now for Sacramento. They took the lead in this game 18 minutes in, relinquished it after 20 minutes. Nishi Galina scored 37th minute to make it 1-1. And it was Galina again, 96th minute here in the first extra time to put Colorado Springs up 2-1 to where we've been ever since.
It's not a foul. It's
Agreed.
Just clearly not a foul. Wheeler gets there before Casey, but now Colorado Springs has to deal with the set piece.
Gurr pops out to Villadare. Villadare on the ground. Nobody at the penalty spot lurking. It's been a good response from Sacramento. They've had ample opportunity to equalize after they went behind 2-1. Part of that is Colorado Springs going into total defensive mode and inviting the pressure. But Sacramento has made the most of that pressure, creating opportunities off of it. Again, it's dangerously played in. Here's Martinez. Douglas Martinez recycles, finds Gurr. Gurr's driven ball in. Easily cleared by Makangila. Here's Luis Felipe, takes a deflection. That could have gone anywhere. Caldwell was beaten if it was on goal. Instead, it's a corner brought to you by Pikes Peak.
And we've seen in the second half just the difficulties that Colorado Springs has had with balls being whipped into dangerous situations.
Villader, back post! But how many times have we seen that? Wouldn't have counted anyway. Late signal from the assistant referee. The ball curled over the end line before it came back in. But Luis Felipe again rising above the rest. He had that chance back in the first half.
And he's been extremely quiet here tonight, Joe. A play that means so much to Sacramento Republic. The last couple minutes, we've seen him come alive. So if you're Mark Briggs, you have 9 minutes left in your season. Felipe needs to step up. Ezekiel Lewis, Archimed, Douglas Jr. as well. Players that for most of the year, to be frank, you sign them expecting something in terms of productivity, haven't really came out to fruition. So now it's you dig deep, you showcase what you have in terms of quality and put maximum effort, because it is do or die time now for Sacramento Republic.
Gurr looking long, Archimed. Anderson knocks it away. Down by Galena. In the absence of Haji Barry, sold to Egypt in the last couple of weeks of the season. The question was, could Mishi Galena rise and become the true face of this club, which had been Haji for the last 22 months? Tonight, a big step in that direction for Galena. Gurr looking for Villader. Skips off the turf, out for a goal kick.
And it's a good idea here from Jack Gurr. He just ropes this ball in, trying to find Villader coming late. But if he just peels this ball out to Douglas Martinez, he has all tons of real estate around the corner. Once again, it's all about decision making. Once you get into the final third, yes, you can be very good in terms of possession in the middle of the field. But when the money's made, it is that final third in and around that 18-yard box. And more oftentimes than not, Sacramento Republic has chose the wrong option.
It was a pair of 1-0 losses in the regular season for Colorado Springs against San Antonio. They would love the opportunity to avenge that next Sunday at 8:30 Eastern time. Jeff Caldwell picks up a nurse's health yellow card. Mental health and well-being for all. Here's Lacroix. Almost given away by Donovan. Sacramento conceded in a similar fashion in the Open Cup final against Orlando. Errant passes around the back, given away. Orlando City capitalized on that time they get away with it, just barely. Conceding now, that would probably be it for Sacramento. Gurr plays it through. Mahoney heads it away. Crowd starting to sense it here at Widener Field. 5 to play. I can't tell if most people have been on their feet because of what's happening or because it's below 50 degrees and everybody's cold, but everybody's been on their feet since extra time began.
You just feel and see why Brendan Burke on our phone call, Joe, says we need this game at home. We want this game at home. What it means not only to us, the organization, but the city of Colorado Springs. From minute 1 to minute 116, you just hear the fans being that 12th man. And those players feel it. They feed off of the energy and they give it a bit of extra. And it's such a difficult place to come into play here at Widener Field.
I think the fans here and the organization owe a debt of gratitude to the Oakland Roots for upsetting San Diego last week, allowing this game to be played here. Otherwise, they would have been traveling to San Diego. They waited 4 years from the time this stadium was announced and the plans were unveiled. From July of 2018 to last week, over 4 years to get that home playoff game. made the most of it. Toppled RGV 3-0. By a stroke of luck elsewhere, the upset of Oakland. Taking down San Diego, earned Colorado Springs another home game this week here against Sacramento. They won't have one next week at the road against San Antonio if they get through. Villadere puts it in front. Dangerous moment, pinballed around, again could have gone anywhere. Unfortunately for Colorado Springs, goes away from the goal mouth.
The inability to clear your lines when balls are whipped into dangerous situations is once again very nervy if you're Brendan Burke watching this. Fortunate enough that this ball falls out to Edwards and he takes no prisoners, puts this out of a danger zone. You can't give the time and luxury for Sacramento to keep advancing the ball 20, 25 yards out, to pick up their head, pick up a dangerous situation. They're just too good in terms of service and quality with the players that are going to be whipping at balls. You need one player to apply a bit of pressure, and then the other players have that rotation to cover each other and not lose your individual battles once again.
Josh Bauer came in for Dami Villadere. Here is Bauer pressuring Caldwell. Pulls out at the last second, and Caldwell will take some more time off the clock. Has a yellow, so he can't take too much time. Two and a half to play. The goal scored by Mishi Galina in the 96th minute would hold up right now as the winner. LaGrassa up the wing. I thought that might have taken a deflection initially, but just a total miss hit by Bauer, out for a goal kick.
And it's just been the story of the night for Sacramento Republic. How many times have they gotten situations just like that, Joe? And the end result is just not good enough. You have the ability to get your foot around it, your hips around it, and just whip this ball into a dangerous area. Whether this time it's Bauer who just comes in, Gerb, LaGrassa, too many times with the quality that Mark Briggs has on his roster to not end up and to finish that play.
Brendan Burke will be one of the first to admit that the form for Colorado Springs was not the best down the stretch of the season, but they knew they would have to come to a point where they flipped the switch and got into playoff mode. Vitiello here, pick it up just inside of his lines. And that moment came on the road against El Paso. A lot of teams will shy away from talking about the playoffs a couple of weeks before they begin. Brendan Burke steered right into it. Felt that was what he needed to say, what he needed to address to turn the tides for the Colorado Springs club, who had been a bit wayward over the last month and a half. They locked in. They knew the importance of the El Paso game on the road. A team they'd never beaten. Win that night, clinch a home playoff game. They went in there, dominated El Paso. And from that night forward, the mindset shift for the Switchbacks. Gone were the thoughts of the last couple of weeks where they struggled mightily. And now it was a team that believed. The Haji Barry situation was hanging over their heads. They had players out injured, but they regrouped, and now they are seconds away from a Western Conference final. There will be one additional minute at the end of this 120. Through it all, Colorado Springs still standing tall right now. They have to defend for about another 70 seconds, and that's not going to help Sacramento. Mishi Galina is being lifted here. What's holding up right now is the winner in the 96th. He comes off for Maka King. Final minute of play. It's been loud all night. It just got louder as stoppage time was announced. Finished the season with just a couple of wins in September. But again, everything changed in that win against El Paso. Became a team that believed they could make it all the way in USL Championship. Knotted down by Bauer, and they might have to defend one more corner here. extracurriculars between Archimed and Anderson. Will we have a corner for Sacramento after all of this? Sergei Demyanchuk trying to settle things down. Archimed, at the moment, shoving away his own teammates. I didn't get a clean look at what sparked this whole thing. It seemed like two guys going for the ball, deflected out for a corner.
This ball's whipped in here from LaGrassa. We'll take a look here.
Oh, right there, Anderson might have kicked out at the end. Archimed came back to shove him down.
You need to be a bit more disciplined if you're Anderson there.
They both picked up a yellow, pardon me. They both just picked up a yellow from Demyanchuk, so that's all that comes of it.
There's an argument to be had if you're Archimed. The extension of the legs there from Anderson, always going to get him in trouble.
Viniello up for the corner. This has to be the last play of the match. Is there one more moment of magic in this season for Sacramento that saw them all the way through to the US Open Cup final? Or is it finally the breakthrough for Colorado Springs? Jack Gurr had that nightmarish miss in the first extra time that could have equalized things. He will deliver the corner. All comes down to this at Widener Field. Gurr whips it in, punched away by Caldwell. There's the whistle. For the first time in club history, the Switchbacks are through to the Western Conference Final.
And you see what it means. You just feel what it means to this organization, to this city. The first time ever, a trip to San Antonio to face the best team in USL. How clinical can you be on the day? This game was always going to be won or lost in between both 18-yard boxes. Who's going to be the more clinical? Who's going to be the more ruthless of the two? Colorado Springs, Michi Galina, Jeff Caldwell, all stood tall, answered every single question asked of them. No one picked them against RGV. No one picked them to be hosting this Western Conference semifinal. They had that internal belief. They came together. They lose the reigning MVP. Who was going to step up? Who was going to come together? Who was going to show up? Michi Galina has answered that question, but it's been about the depth of this roster. Brendan Burke knows what it means, and well-deserved for the Colorado Springs Switchbacks.
Michi Galina brought the fireworks on the field during the game. The fans celebrate with more afterwards. Nobody picked them. Nobody probably will pick them against San Antonio, but that's how Brendan Burke wants it. Bulletin board material at its finest. They relished in it last week. They relished in it this week. I'm sure they'll relish in it next week. Going on the road next Sunday against San Antonio. 8:30 Eastern time to kick. Number 1 seed against the number 3 seed. Our Western Conference final is set. Your man of the match tonight, brought to you by Better Business Bureau, is Michi Galina. Reach verified customer reviews and check business ratings at bbb.org. I think we can verify the review that Michi Galina was the most talented player on the field tonight, as he often is. And he was also the author of the critical moment of the match, brought to you by Centura Health. It came in the 96th minute to win this one.
Just through and through a game changer. No one in USL Championship possesses the skills, the pace, the individual brilliance that this man does. You talk to Brendan Burke, said, look, he's just an easygoing guy. He knows he's talented, but you'll never get it. He's so humble, works hard every single day, comes in with a smile. And the way that he started this game, Joe, you would think, okay, it's very easy for a young player of 22 years old to say, okay, this is not my night, let me hang my head. But no, to produce not 1 goal, but 2 goals when your club needs it the most, there's a reason why he means so much to this Colorado Springs Switchback side.
All smiles on the Switchback side. They get the W tonight. They're through to the conference final. Take a look at the stats brought to you by the Better Business Bureau. That's how it finishes. 11 shots to 5. There were chances through and through for both teams. Sacramento probably would have liked more on the night, but in the end, Colorado Springs deserved it.
And the only thing that jumps out at me is, look, shots on target 1 for Sacramento Republic was the goal. And you look at the opportunities, the clear-cut opportunities have to go Sacramento's way. Just unable to have that finishing touch. And it's very, very interesting. We talked to Mark Briggs, he said, look, we need to be ruthless. When we're ruthless, I put my team up against everyone in the country, including MLS. We saw that in Open Cup, but unable to produce the magic. Too many times, they lost focus, didn't have that quality in that final action, whether it was a combination play, whether it was a ball whipped into the dangerous area, or whether it was that finishing touch. And for the reason that Colorado Springs was ruthless, they were clinical, and they got 2 goals.
And now we take one final look at the Western Conference bracket. It is finalized. Colorado Springs, the 3 seed, got through RGV, got through Sacramento, and next up is San Antonio. Next Sunday, Ricky, do you have a lean in that one, or are you just going to sit back and enjoy?
I'm not trying to make any enemies right here. That's a sit back, enjoy, but what a match that it's going to be. You see San Antonio, how the talent that they have on that front line from Alan Marcina was on display against the Oakland Roots, how clinical they were. But now you look at Colorado Springs, the confidence that they're coming into this game with, the self-belief. And you know when you come into the playoffs, that's all you need. Internally, we know we can do it. We have what it takes. And this is going to be a firework matchup, Joe.
What a night it was across USL. 2 League One semifinals. That final comes next Sunday. We saw Louisville advance on penalties. Colorado Springs advances. We have another one tomorrow between Memphis and Tampa Bay. And next week you get your conference finals in the USL Championship and your USL League One final. That does it for us tonight from Widener Field. For my broadcast partner, Ricky Lopez-Espin, and the crew that makes this possible, I'm Joe Malva saying good night from Colorado Springs, where the Switchbacks flip into the Western Conference Final.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.